Chapter 105. This Qin Yunhan is quite good at tricking people, but is Mu Zhaozhao telling the truth? If it's true, I have no objections at all. Wang Haoren had heard of the surveillance virus before, so he couldn't help but smile when he heard the conversation between the two girls. The day's classes passed quickly. After the evening's self-study period ended, Wang Haoren slowly left the classroom and prepared to sneak into Qin Yunhan's dorm. On the other side, Qin Yunhan was filled with anticipation and nervousness as she prepared to quickly return to her own dorm. However, halfway there, she suddenly received a call from Qin Kai. "Dad, if you want to persuade me to go back to the small villa, then I'll just hang up the phone," Qin Yunhan said with a sullen face. "Yunhan, Dad asked Xiao Yifeng to come over to protect you. Are you still angry with Dad?" Qin Kai asked gently. "Don't mention that Xiao Yifeng. I can't wait for him to die." Qin Yunhan was furious. Xiao Yifeng harmed her beloved and indirectly ruined her future happiness. How could she not be angry? "What's the matter? How'd he provoke you?" Qin Kai heard that his daughter's tone was not right and quickly asked. Qin Yunhan really wanted to tell her about how Xiao Yifeng dealt with Wang Haoren. However, she was afraid that this matter would spread and Wang Haoren would not be able to raise his head in the future, so she forced herself to endure. "What's wrong with him?" Qin Kai asked again. "Nothing. Anyway, I just hate this person," Qin Yunhan said vaguely. "Okay, let's not talk about this for now." Qin Kai changed his tone and talked about business. "Someone wants to see you. Come to the school gate. Dad will wait for you here. I don't want to see anyone. I'm not going." Qin Yunhan curled her lips. "This person is related to your mother. She can be considered as your aunt." Qin Kai revealed some information. "Mom?" Qin Yunhan's expression changed. She had heard from her father that after her mother gave birth to her, she had left them and gone to a faraway place. In Qin Yunhan's life, the word mother was unfamiliar to her, but in her heart, there was always a vague and gentle figure. "Wait a moment, I'll be right there." Qin Yunhan corrected herself. After hanging up, she typed a message and sent it out. "Brother Haoren, my father is here. He asked me to go to the school gate for something. I'll go back to the dormitory later." "Okay," Wang Haoren replied instantly. Through the monitoring virus, he had already heard the conversation between Qin Kai and Qin Yunhan. After replying to the message, Wang Haoren immediately walked towards the school gate, because he heard from the conversation that Qin Yunhan's aunt came to see her. This made him suddenly remember the information he received from Old Eagle. Red phoenix eyes, a red mole between her eyebrows, a middle-aged woman. He had never seen Qin Yunhan's aunt before, but the description clearly matched the third point. A middle-aged woman. It was always good to be more cautious. After all, since Qin Kai was here, Xiao Yifeng should be there too. According to the law of nothing good ever happens when a protagonist appears, something might really happen. Of course, Wang Haoren had to go take a look. After a while, he arrived near the school gate. Using his X-ray vision, Wang Haoren saw a luxury business car parked at the school gate. The driver was Li Bo. Qin Kai, Xiao Yifeng, and a middle-aged woman were also inside. The middle-aged woman had red phoenix eyes and a red mole between her eyebrows. Wang Haoren immediately confirmed that this unfamiliar woman was the mastermind that Old Eagle spoke of. At the school gate, after Qin Yunhan arrived, Qin Kai, Xiao Yifeng, and Feng Rong got out of the car one after another. "Dad, I don't want to see him. Tell him to scram." Qin Yunhan angrily pointed at Xiao Yifeng and said to Qin Kai. When she thought of how Xiao Yifeng caused Wang Haoren to be in such a state, her heart was filled with anger, and she couldn't hold it in anymore. Seeing Qin Yunhan's reaction, Xiao Yifeng couldn't help but be surprised. Could it be that the first miss knew that he had complained? But she didn't have to be so angry. He did follow the agreement and didn't say that Miss went to the bar. He only said that Miss and Wang Haoren held hands. "Miss, we had an agreement before. You won't be so fierce to me in the future. You will treat me well." Xiao Yifeng wanted to use the matter of going to the bar to threaten Qin Yunhan. Scram! Qin Yunhan lost control of her emotions and directly interrupted Xiao Yifeng's words. Xiao Yifeng's expression immediately became somewhat unbearable. "Yunhan, be polite. There are guests here. Qin Kai also felt that his daughter was a little strange, but now wasn't the time to ask questions. So he wanted to smooth things over and give Xiao Yifeng a way out. I don't care so much. If he doesn't scram, I'll just leave. Qin Yunhan was dizzy with anger, and her tone was very resolute. Qin Kai saw that there was no room for discussion, so he tactfully said, Yifeng, you're tired today. Why don't you go back and rest first? All right. Xiao Yifeng saw that there was a way out. Naturally, he wouldn't ask for a snub. He immediately disappeared from Qin Yunhan's sight. But before he left, Qin Kai secretly gave Xiao Yifeng a look. Xiao Yifeng understood and didn't leave. Instead, he secretly observed. There are too many people here. Let's go to the river. Qin Kai wanted to find a suitable place to talk. They got on the MPV and went to the nearby river. It was very close to the river. They soon arrived at a quiet area by the river. Xiao Yifeng also quietly followed and hid in the dark flower bed where the street lights couldn't shine. As a bodyguard, of course, he had to protect Qin Yunhan's safety. After all, the mastermind behind Qin Yunhan's kidnapping hadn't been found yet. Qin Yunhan was likely to be in danger outside. If he could really meet the person who kidnapped Miss Qin, then Miss Qin would definitely change her opinion of him if he helped her. Xiao Yifeng stared closely at Qin Yunhan's movements. What he didn't notice was that a figure was quietly approaching him. Crack! The sound of someone stepping on a dead branch of a flower was heard. The sound was almost inaudible, but it couldn't escape Xiao Yifeng's ears. Xiao Yifeng immediately turned around and looked behind him. However, the flower bed was dark. He couldn't see anything. He only felt that the footsteps became faster. He was shocked and wanted to leave the dark flower bed in a flash and go to a place where there was light. However, there was a sound of palm wind in the air. He's an internal strength expert. Xiao Yifeng was surprised for a moment. Then, disdain flashed in his heart. He wasn't afraid of competing with internal strength. He focused and listened to the sound to determine the direction of the opponent's move. Then, he used all his internal strength to his palm. He slammed his palm heavily. Xiao Yifeng's body shook. He only felt that the qi and blood in his body were surging. He was about to vomit blood. He was horrified. This person's internal strength cultivation was above his. Xiao Yifeng was shocked. He poured all his internal qi into his legs, wanting to jump out of the dark area without light. However, a tearing pain came from his dantian, making him unable to circulate his internal qi. There was poison on his palm. Xiao Yifeng, who had grandmaster-level medical skills, immediately recognized it. He pointed his fingers at himself, trying to seal his acupoints to prevent the poison from acting up. However, a figure had already flashed out from the darkness and slapped him on the neck. Xiao Yifeng's consciousness gradually blurred. It's clearly dark around. Why does the opponent seem to be able to see my position? The moment before he fainted, Xiao Yifeng was very confused. However, before he could think more, his consciousness was completely blurred. He directly plunged into the soil of the flower bed. Ding! The host has successfully captured the protagonist Xiao Yifeng. The reward is 1,000 villain points. Xiao Yifeng's protagonist aura -50. The host's villain aura +50. Chapter 106. After receiving the system notification, Wang Haoran, who was in the dark, smiled to himself. Zhuo Qiuqinyu had already given the materials she had collected to Wang Haoran this morning. Wang Haoran had spent some time concocting the poison to deal with Xiao Yifeng. He was thinking of using Qin Yunhan as bait to create the best opportunity to deal with Xiao Yifeng. Unexpectedly, in order to protect Qin Yunhan, Xiao Yifeng hid in the dark garden and indirectly created an opportunity for Wang Haoran. Wang Haoran's X-ray vision not only allowed him to see far, but also had a night vision effect. Xiao Yifeng could not see clearly, but Wang Haoran could see very clearly. In a situation where he was stronger than Xiao Yifeng, Wang Haoran had the advantage of vision and even the use of poison. If he could not capture Xiao Yifeng, then he would be too useless. However, the mastermind behind Qin Yunhan's kidnapping had not been dealt with yet, so Wang Haoran did not have the time to deal with Xiao Yifeng for now. After arriving at the riverside, Qin Yunhan's emotions gradually stabilized. She could not help but look at the middle-aged woman beside her and asked Qin Kai in an inquiring tone, "Dad, she's your mother's sister. You can call her Aunt Rong," Qin Kai said. Qin Yunhan nodded and politely greeted Feng Rong. "She's very pretty, very similar to your mother." Feng Rong looked at Qin Yunhan and revealed a faint smile. "Is my mother doing well?" Qin Yunhan suddenly choked up. "She's doing very well, but she misses you very much. I actually came this time to bring you to see her," Feng Rong said. "Really?" Qin Yunhan exclaimed. She remembered that her father had said that her mother was in a faraway place. Her father and she couldn't go there. Unless her mother came to find her, she wouldn't be able to see her mother. At this moment, when she heard that she had a chance to see her mother, she found it hard to believe. "Of course it's true," Feng Rong replied in an affirmative tone. "Then when are we going?" Qin Yunhan was overjoyed. "We can depart now." Feng Rong suddenly smiled. Her smile was a little strange. Compared to Qin Yunhan, Qin Kai's face was gloomy. He was not happy at all. Instead, he looked at Feng Rong with vigilance and questioned her. "You weren't called here by Feng Yun. Who are you?" "I've already said that Feng Yun and I are good sisters," Feng Rong said. "If Feng Yun really has the power to ask Yunhan to go to Fengshi Mountain, she can come personally. She definitely won't let someone I haven't seen before take Yunhan away." "You're lying." Qin Kai snorted coldly. "No wonder your business is so big. You're quite clear-headed. However, if I want to take your daughter away, you can't stop me." Feng Rong smiled. "I'm a businessman. I've always been cautious. Since I can stand here and talk to you, do you think I won't be prepared?" Qin Kai was fearless. Feng Rong saw this and couldn't help but frown. "Yifeng, come out." Qin Kai called out. Qin Kai called out, but the surroundings were still quiet. No one appeared. "Yifeng, come out." Qin Kai raised his voice. The river breeze blew gently, but the surroundings were still silent. "Yifeng." Qin Kai raised his voice to the maximum. Unfortunately, no one appeared. In an instant, the situation became awkward. What's wrong with Yifeng? I've already given him a look. Why is he so blind? Did he really go back to rest? Qin Kai grumbled in his heart. "Chairman Qin, other than doing business, do you also work as a crosstalk actor?" Feng Rong couldn't help but mock him. "You and Han run." Qin Kai saw that the situation wasn't right and immediately pounced on Feng Rong. He wanted to hold her back and buy time for his daughter to escape. However, he had just taken a step when Feng Rong sealed his acupoints. He couldn't move for a moment. "Master, Dad," Li Bo and Qin Yunhan cried out in panic. However, before they could finish speaking, the two of them followed in Qin Kai's footsteps. "If I knew, I would have done it myself. Why did I have to invite those useless people?" Feng Rong couldn't help but complain when she saw that the target was captured so easily. "You're the mastermind behind Yunhan's kidnapping." Qin Kai lost his voice. He always thought that the person who kidnapped his daughter was his business enemy. He never thought that it would be someone from his wife's side. Feng Yun is really powerful. Her reputation in Mount Feng, she has increased greatly. She's now fighting for the position of elder. In order to stop her from being so arrogant, I was sent to invite her daughter to Mount Fengshi. Feng Rong saw that the situation was settled and didn't mind saying a few more words to Qin Kai. "You guys are really despicable," Qin Kai said coldly. From Feng Rong's words, he could roughly guess that there was an internal conflict in Mount Fengshi. This Feng Rong in front of him was his wife's enemy. However, Feng Rong's side didn't seem to be able to win openly, so they thought of using their daughter to restrict her. What's so despicable about this? This is the same as your business. In order to achieve your goal, you'll do anything. Feng Rong sneered. I've always done business through fair competition. I won't do such a despicable thing. Qin Kai retorted. Forget it. I'm not here to argue with you. Feng Rong tapped Qin Kai's acupoint again, making him unable to speak. Then, she looked at Qin Yunhan. This place is quite far from Mount Fengshi. I can't bring you there in a short time. However, I can give Feng Yun a gift in advance and give her a surprise. Feng Rong sized up Qin Yunhan and said coldly, "Which part of your body should I choose? Fingers, ears, or eyeballs? Don't mess around. Otherwise, my mother won't let you off." Qin Yunhan was so scared that her face turned pale. Crazy woman, stop, don't hurt, Li Bo roared. As soon as he finished speaking, Uncle Li was knocked out. Then, Feng Rong tapped Qin Yunhan's acupoint, making her unable to speak. I think it's better to choose your eyes. Your eyes are so similar to your mother's. I'm disgusted when I see them. Feng Rong's gaze was cold as she took out a small knife from her body. The surroundings were quiet, and there was no one around. She wanted to dig out one of Qin Yunhan's eyes first, then take her away. This place was very far from Mount Fengshi, but it was still very fast to send a video over. She was prepared to record the process of digging out Qin Yunhan's eyes and send it back for Feng Yun to enjoy. However, before Feng Rong could set up her phone, a small stone suddenly flew in the air. The small stone was wrapped in true qi, and it was very powerful and penetrating. It directly pierced through Feng Rong's right thigh. Feng Rong was bleeding nonstop. She half knelt on the ground and asked in shock, "Where did you come from?" There was no one around. She was answered by two small stones. One hit Feng Rong's left leg, and the other hit her dantian. The three small stones directly crippled Feng Rong's left and right legs and dantian. Whoosh! A few emerald leaves flew out and hit Qin Kai and Qin Yunhan. Their acupoints were unsealed, and they regained their freedom. Ding! Host has crippled the mastermind behind the kidnapping of female lead Qin Yunhan and resolved the crisis of female lead Qin Yunhan. Received 300 villain points. Chapter 107. After receiving the system prompt, Wang Haoran carried the fainted Xiao Yifeng and disappeared into the darkness of the night. There were 4 reasons why he didn't show up. First, Qin Yunhan's favorability had reached 90 and they had already slept together. There was no need for him to show up and save the damsel in distress. Secondly, he had lied to Qin Yunhan that he had been tricked by Xiao Yifeng and had taken the top spot from Qin Yunhan. If he were to reveal his true strength, then Qin Yunhan would inevitably suspect him. Since he was putting on an act, he naturally had to go all out. Third, he didn't want to reveal his true strength and make Qin Kai suspect that he had something to do with Xiao Yifeng's disappearance. Fourth, and most importantly, even if Wang Haoran got rid of Xiao Yifeng, there would still be other protagonists who might be stronger than Xiao Yifeng. It was very important to hide his trump card. He learned this from the protagonists in urban novels. There were some protagonists who were obviously very strong, but deliberately hid their strength. First, they could pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger. Second, they could also trick others. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Yunhan, are you okay? Qin Kai asked with concern. I'm fine. Qin Yunhan shook her head with lingering fear. Qin Kai checked on Li Bo and found that he was only knocked unconscious. There was nothing serious. Fortunately, it was a close call. However, Qin Kai was very confused. Who was the person who secretly saved him? Xiao Yifeng? That didn't seem possible. If it was him, he could just show up. There was no need to hide. But other than Xiao Yifeng, he didn't know any martial arts masters. Could it be that his wife, Feng Yun, secretly sent someone to help? Qin Kai could only think so. Otherwise, why would the other party save him? Qin Kai glared angrily at Feng Rong, who had lost her ability to fight back. He wished he could cut her into pieces and throw them into the river to feed the fish. However, he was a well-behaved businessman. In the end, he suppressed this idea and immediately called the police, intending to let the law punish Feng Rong. On the other side, Ling Duanya, who happened to be on the night shift, immediately rushed to the scene with her colleagues in a police car after hearing the news. There were not many cars on the road at night. The person driving the car was Ling Duanya. She had gotten her driver's license a long time ago and had been driving for 5 years. Her driving skills were very good. They passed many cars along the way. Sister Ling is amazing. This car is so stable and fast. She can even participate in a racing competition. His colleagues praised him in unison. When I'm free, I'll definitely sign up and win the championship. Ling Duanya smiled proudly and was in high spirits. However, as soon as she finished speaking, with a whoosh, a gray Mercedes-Benz GTR overtook Ling Duanya's car. The GTR's speed was very fast. It was estimated that it was almost 250 kilometers per hour. In the blink of an eye, it left Ling Duanya far behind. The atmosphere suddenly became a little awkward. Ling Duanya's colleagues also had strange expressions on their faces. Ling Duanya was confident in her driving skills. Of course, she was not convinced. She subconsciously stepped on the accelerator to catch up. However, the GTR was too fast. Ling Duanya could not even see the back of the car. Which bastard? Ling Duanya saw that there was no hope of catching up to the GTR, so she angrily slapped the steering wheel. However, after the car drove for a while, Ling Duanya saw a GTR on the side of the road. The GTR was gray. It was obviously the one that had just overtaken her car. The door of the GTR's driver's seat was open, and there was a half-drunk woman in the passenger seat. Next to the GTR, a man was peeing at the flowers and plants on the side of the road. This was Yang Wishin. The woman in the passenger seat was the prey he had his eyes on in the bar. Ling Duanya stopped the car and got out with a few colleagues. Yang Wishin was about to return to the driver's seat, but he was stopped by Ling Duanya. "We now suspect that you're driving dangerously. Please show us your driver's license and driving license." Ling Duanya was close enough to smell the alcohol on the other party, so she added, "One more thing. We suspect that you're driving drunk. Please show us your driving license." Yang Wishin looked up and down at Ling Duanya. He had seen countless women, but it was the first time he had seen such a valiant and beautiful woman like Ling Duanya. "Looking at your clothes, you don't seem to be a traffic officer, right?" Yang Wishin smiled unruly and questioned, "We are all in the same unit. What's wrong with a temporary change of duties? Hurry up and show us your driver's license and driving license." Ling Duanya said coldly. The GTR had been driven over 250 kilometers per hour, and the person in front of her had been drinking. If there was a car accident, he would be seriously injured or dead. Ling Duanya didn't want to let go of this person who was a danger to society. "Okay, I'll give it to you." Yang Wishin slowly got into the GTR and pretended to take his license. However, he suddenly stepped on the gas and drove away. Before he left, Yin Guishan stuck his head out and said to Ling Duanya, "Don't worry. Beauty, we'll meet again if fate allows." Yang Wishin didn't have a driver's license or even an ID, and the GTR belonged to the woman beside him. He couldn't take anything out, so it would be strange if he didn't run away. Moreover, he was in a hurry to do business with the woman beside him. This was even more reason to not let him stay. When he saw the GTR, he quickly disappeared from sight. Ling Duanya was so angry that she stomped her feet. However, she still had work to do, so she couldn't chase after Yang Wishin for the time being. Even if she chased after him, she wouldn't be able to outrun the GTR. She could only report this matter to the traffic control and let them handle it. After the GTR left Ling Duanya's field of vision, it didn't take long for it to arrive at the Grand Marriott. Although the woman was half drunk, she was still somewhat conscious. She took out a black gold card and booked a presidential suite. Soon, Yang Wishin and the woman arrived at the hotel room. "Woman, this will be a night you will never forget." Yang Wishin's sharp lips curled slightly, looking wild and evil. "Aren't you going to ask for my name?" The woman's eyes were intoxicated as she mocked. "Why should I ask for your name? I won't be responsible." Yang Wishin's words were very straightforward. The woman sneered and nodded. Indeed, the other party wouldn't be responsible, and she wouldn't let the other party be responsible. The reason why she came with Yang Wishin was because she wanted to take revenge on her husband. That was because her husband was a womanizer. He didn't even come home a few times a year. Therefore, she wanted to give a hat to her husband. Why should men be able to do whatever they want, and women have to stay at home obediently? "My husband's name is Shun Kong, and he owns a chain of hotels. This Grand Marriott is his property." The woman wanted to mentally prepare the other party. "Woman, you're really bold." Yang Wishin was slightly stunned and said in surprise, "Are you afraid?" The woman looked down on him. "Afraid? Hee, in your eyes, perhaps those rich people with power and money are scary, but in my eyes, they're like ants." Yang Wishin looked at her disdainfully. Chapter 108. Under the cover of the night, Xiao Yifeng channeled true qi into his legs and ran with all his might. 10 minutes later, he brought Xiao Yifeng to an abandoned factory nearby. Wang Haoran woke Xiao Yifeng up immediately. It's you." After slowly waking up, Xiao Yifeng saw a face clearly under the dim light from outside the abandoned factory. He could not help but turn pale with fright. "Are you surprised? Are you surprised?" Wang Howren joked. "I'll kill you." Xiao Yifeng was furious. He wanted to pounce on Wang Howren, but he fell to the ground. His teeth were knocked out, and he even ate a mouthful of dust. He turned pale with fright and glared at Wang Howren. What did you do to me?" "It's nothing. I just poisoned you a little. This poison will slowly disperse your true qi and destroy your meridians." Wang Howren looked at the time and said, "You're despicable. You're shameless." Xiao Yifeng's eyes almost popped out as he gritted his teeth. "Aren't you despicable? Aren't you shameless? Have you forgotten what you've done?" Xiao Yifeng could not help but laugh. Xiao Yifeng was stunned. "Then let me remind you." In Qin Yunhan's dormitory, Wang Howren said, You were awake at that time?" Xiao Yifeng trembled. "That's right. Otherwise, do you think you can inject a needle in my body? But speaking of which, that needle was quite painful, but it doesn't matter. Fortunately, there's a reward." As Wang Howren spoke, he took out the recording he had prepared. "Let you listen to something." Wang Howren pressed the play button. Soon, some sounds came from a phone. There was not a complete word in this voice, but the tone clearly belonged to Qin Yunhan. It was Qin Yunhan's love monologue. Only when she was alone with Wang Howren would she have a love monologue. Xiao Yifeng felt as if he had been struck by lightning. With an ah, he lost control of his emotions and screamed crazily. Ding! The host has caused the main character Xiao Yifeng to lose his mental balance. The host has received 500 villain points. Xiao Yifeng's main character aura -20 and the host villain aura +20. Ding! The host has caused the main character Xiao Yifeng to lose his mental balance. The host has received 500 villain points. Xiao Yifeng's main character aura -20 and the host villain aura +20. Ding! The host has caused the main character Xiao Yifeng to lose his mental balance. The host has received 500 villain points. Xiao Yifeng's main character aura -20 and the host villain aura +20. Ding! The host has caused the main character Xiao Yifeng to lose his mental balance. The host has received 1,000 villain points. Xiao Yifeng's main character aura -50 and the host villain aura +50. Ding! Xiao Yifeng's mental balance has exploded. The main character aura has been shattered. He has lost the main character status. Wang Howren received a series of system notifications. While he was happy, he was also a bit speechless. The reason why he let Xiao Yifeng listen to the recording was because he wanted to mess with Xiao Yifeng's mental state and obtain the villain points reward. It was a pity that this Xiao Yifeng's mentality was really a little too bad. If Xiao Yifeng was a bit stronger, he would have been able to obtain a lot of villain points and aura points. According to Wang Howren's estimates, if Xiao Yifeng's main character aura hadn't been shattered, he would have had around 300 aura points. Unfortunately, it had exploded and now it was all gone. It was a bit of a pity. Wang Howren made up his mind. If he encountered a similar situation in the future, he would try his best to squeeze out all the rewards from the main character before dealing with the main character in one fell swoop. Wang Howren, kill me if you have the guts. Hurry up and kill me. Xiao Yifeng crazily shouted. His cultivation had been destroyed, and the young miss he had been thinking about had become someone else's woman. He didn't want to live anymore. Killing you would be letting you off too easily. Letting you live like a walking corpse is more interesting. Wang Howren knew the plot of those supermasters. A young master like Xiao Yifeng must have an extremely powerful master. He currently only had 18 years of internal strength. Compared to Xiao Yifeng's master, he was definitely far inferior. If one day, Xiao Yifeng's master came out of seclusion and came looking for him, that would be troublesome. Leaving Xiao Yifeng's life was equivalent to leaving a life-saving trump card. This was also one of the reasons why Wang Howren didn't choose to reveal his strength in front of Qin Kai. After various thoughts flashed through his mind, Wang Howren first used his qi to destroy Xiao Yifeng's brain, turning him into an idiot like Old Eagle. Then he found some silver needles on Xiao Yifeng's body. Then he went to the nearby abandoned chemical factory to find some plant juice to use as paint. He tattooed Xiao Yifeng's face like a birthmark, covering Xiao Yifeng's face. This way, even those who were familiar with Xiao Yifeng wouldn't be able to recognize him. After doing all this, Wang Haoren took advantage of the night when no one was paying attention to throw him under the bridge where the beggars were active. When he wakes up tomorrow, Xiao Yifeng will blend in and become one of the beggars. Done. Wang Haoren took advantage of the night to return and went to Qin Yunhan's dormitory. Through the monitoring virus, Wang Haoren knew that Qin Yunhan and Qin Kai's matters had just been dealt with. Feng Rong was taken away by Ling Duanya. The kidnapping of Qin Yunhan had also come to an end. Not long after, Qin Yunhan returned to her dormitory. Qin Yunhan still had lingering fears, vividly described to Wang Haoren what happened tonight. Wang Haoren cooperated with her and gave various shocked and surprised reactions. Unknowingly, it was already 1 in the morning. It's getting late. Wang Haoren stared into Qin Yunhan's eyes and suddenly said. Qin Yunhan immediately understood and couldn't help but blush. After a fierce battle, Wang Haoren successfully gained another wave of villain points and halo points. However, he felt that his waist was a little sore. During this period of time, he was exhausted and couldn't take it anymore. Although he was young, his body was not made of iron. With a sigh, he checked his panel attributes and wanted to see his gains. Host, Wang Haoren, Combat Strength, 1099, Charm, 268, Villain Halo, 1151, Villain Points, 5,700, Skills, Master Level Painting and Painting Skills, Master Level Combat Wing Chun, Singing God Level Singing Skills, Best Actor Level Acting Skills, X-Ray Vision, Advanced Poison Skills, Top Hacker Skills, 18 years of internal strength. His villain points had increased to 5,700. There were many things that could be exchanged in the system mall. With a rough count, there were more than 100 types. It was a dazzling array. Wang Haoren carefully checked the items in the mall. Soon, a dragon and tiger supplement pill worth 5,000 villain points caught his attention. He carefully read the introduction text of the dragon and tiger supplement pill. There were many words. Wang Haoren summarized that after taking the dragon and tiger supplement pill, it could increase one's skills by 2 years. Of course, this was secondary. The most important thing was that after taking the dragon and tiger supplement pill, the internal organs, bones, and so on would be greatly strengthened. The kidney was also one of the human organs. The benefits of stronger kidney were obvious. Wang Haoren was overjoyed and couldn't wait to spend 5,000 villain points to exchange for a dragon and tiger supplement pill. Chapter 109. The next day, the sun was shining brightly. In a small pavilion in the Tang family's manor, Tang Lao and Yang Wuxian sat facing each other. Tang Lao brewed a pot of good tea and poured a cup for Yang Wuxian. It's a top-notch snow-top silver shuttle. Have a taste, Tang Lao said with a smile. Yang Wuxian picked up the teacup, took a few sips, and tasted it carefully. His face showed a pleasant expression. This kind of thing can only be drunk in China. Life abroad is very hard, isn't it? Tang Lao's words had a deeper meaning. He had some understanding of Yang Wuxian's life abroad. He knew that Yang Wuxian was very famous abroad, but this was because Yang Wuxian had risked his life to fight for it. Tang Lao also used to be in the army, so he appreciated and even admired Yang Wuxian very much. It's okay. Yang Wuxian skimmed over it and didn't say much. Tang Lao suddenly thought of an old friend, so he couldn't help but ask, "How about your father? How is he?" Yang Wuxian sighed and said, "He's lying in a hospital bed. I don't think he'll live for long. What are your plans for the future?" Tang Lao's heart skipped a beat, and he got to the point. "Since I'm back, of course, I want to live a more comfortable life. So, you don't object to the marriage contract? I want to fulfill my father's wish before he dies. I agree to the marriage contract." Yang Wuxian looked a little helpless and unwilling when he said this. He planned to live a quiet life, but he just wanted to play with flowers. He didn't really want to get married. If it weren't for his father, who didn't have much time left, who kept asking him to get married, he might not have the idea of getting married in his life. He was a prodigal son. His heart would never be tied to only one woman. Moreover, he didn't think that any woman in the world was qualified to be his wife. Tang Lao was a shrewd person. When he saw Yang Wuxian's expression, he saw through his thoughts. Look at this. Tang Lao took out his phone and opened the photo album. Then, he handed the phone to Yang Weixin. Yang Weixin didn't know what he meant, but he still took the phone and glanced at the screen. On the phone screen was a beautiful woman with a cold temperament. Yang Weixin's heart clenched. His fingers subconsciously swiped the phone screen and began to check the other photos in the album. In this album, there were about 100 pictures of this great beauty. Yang Weixin flipped through it once, but it wasn't enough. He actually flipped through it 10 times. Tang Lao smiled and said nothing. It would be strange if Yang Weixin wasn't moved by his granddaughter's beauty. Yang Weixin came back to his senses after a long time. He asked Tang Lao excitedly. He had been in many places in the world and seen many different kinds of beautiful women. However, there had never been a woman who could move his heart like this. My granddaughter, Tang Bingyun, Tang Lao said with a smile. Old Master Tang, how many granddaughters do you have? Yang Weixin heard from his old man that he was engaged to Tang Lao's granddaughter. Just one. Hearing this, Yang Weixin couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. He was secretly excited. My son and daughter-in-law passed away in a car accident many years ago, leaving behind 2 sons and a daughter. Bingyun's 2 brothers are neither talented nor virtuous. They don't have the ability to manage a business. I don't want the business I worked so hard to build to be ruined by my 2 grandsons. Therefore, I plan to hand it over to my granddaughter, Bingyun, who has outstanding business skills. I hope she can pass on the Tang family. Tang Lao's face, which was full of traces of age, showed a worried expression. However, I'm a little worried about letting a woman like Bingyun take on such a heavy responsibility. Firstly, I'm afraid that her 2 brothers will be dissatisfied with my arrangement and do something to hurt Bingyun. Secondly, those people in the same industry are always watching our Tang family to make mistakes. Yang Weixin slowly nodded. He understood Tang Lao's meaning, so he solemnly said, Old Master Tang, don't worry. As long as I'm here, I won't let anyone touch a single hair on Bingyun's head. I won't let anyone bully her either. Haha, I'm relieved to hear your words. Tang Lao smiled in relief. In fact, the reason why he was getting married at the same time was partly because of the promise he made to his old friend. The other reason was that he wanted to find someone to rely on for Tang Bingyun. He knew some things about Yang Weixin when he was abroad. With Blood Prison Wolf King's personal promise, he could completely rest assured. Old Master Tang, what does Bingyun think? Yang Weixin suddenly remembered another key point about the marriage. She doesn't know about this yet, Tang Lao said. She doesn't know? Yang Weixin was shocked and a little worried. In this era, marriage was free. As a modern woman, she would definitely be quite resistant to marriage arranged by her elders. What if Tang Bingyun was unwilling to agree to this no matter what? Don't worry. Even if Bingyun is dissatisfied with this marriage, I have a way to make her agree. The wrinkles on Tang Lao's face were squeezed together, and he smiled like an old fox. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of high heels clicking on the ground was heard. Yang Weixin had excellent hearing. When he heard the sound, he immediately looked over subconsciously. He saw a tall beauty walking over with long legs. The beauty's face was indifferent and cold. She looked somewhat unapproachable. Yang Weixin recognized at a glance that this was the woman in the photo just now. Now that he saw her in person, he realized that she was even more beautiful in person than in the photo, especially that cold and indifferent temperament. With Yang Weixin's many years of experience, he knew that this kind of woman was difficult to pursue. However, it was precisely because of this that it was more challenging. Tang Bingyun came to the small pavilion and glanced at one of the strangers. The way the stranger looked at her made her a little unhappy. Tang Bingyun ignored him and asked Tang Lao, Grandpa, why did you call me here? Let me introduce you to someone. Tang Lao gestured in front of him with his hand. Miss Tang Bingyun, nice to meet you. My name is Yang Weixin. Yang Weixin stood up from the stone bench and extended his hand to greet Tang Bingyun. Tang Bingyun just glanced at him indifferently and ignored him. Yang Weixin's hand froze in midair, but he did not care. He just shrugged and withdrew his hand naturally. Grandpa, the company is very busy. I don't have time to meet idle people, Tang Bingyun said. He's not idle. He's your future husband, Tang Lao said. What? Tang Bingyin thought she heard wrong. It's like this. This is an agreement your grandpa made with an old friend many years ago, Tang Lao explained. Grandpa, what era are we in now? Are these old things still popular? I'll arrange my own marriage. Grandpa, you don't have to worry about it. Tang Bingyin thought it was a little ridiculous. I've already decided on this. You have to marry him whether you want to or not, Tang Lao said sternly. Tang Bingyin was stunned, because it was the first time she saw her grandpa like this in her life. Her grandpa had never been so angry with her since she was young. Grandpa, I can promise you anything but this. Tang Bingyun's tone was resolute. Say that again. Tang Lao stood up from the stone bench with his crutch and said angrily, I won't marry him. Grandpa, if you like him, you can marry him yourself. After saying that, Tang Bingyun turned around and prepared to leave. She did not want to waste any more time. Yooped. Tang Lao's face turned red. He spat out a rain of blood and then fell to the ground. Grandpa! Grandpa! Tang Bingyin turned around and was shocked. Chapter 110. Xiao Yifeng was no longer a threat. The other main character, Fong Hung, was also not a concern. In Wang Howren's view, Fong Hung was a main character who gave him money. Not only was he not a threat to him, but he would also continue to make money for him so that his wealth could continue to accumulate. At noon, Wang Howren was very leisurely. He was now thinking about how to extend his claws to Su Mu Yin and Mu Zhao Zhao. As for Qin Yunhan, he did not care much about her. It was like a delicious dish. You have already tasted it. Although it was delicious, you still want to eat it, but you are not as greedy as before. Wang Howren wanted to change his taste. In comparison, it was easier to conquer Su Mu Yin, who had 70 points of favorability. But how should he create an opportunity to conquer her? Wang Howren was thinking about this problem in his mind. At this moment, his phone suddenly rang. Looking at the caller ID, it was Tang Bingyin. Wang Howren directly picked up the phone and greeted her with a heart-wrenching tone. Annie Tang, why did you suddenly call me? Howren! Tang Bingyun's voice sounded a little choked and hoarse. Wang Howren was slightly stunned. Could it be that because he called her Annie Tang, she was hurt and became like this? Annie Tang, what's wrong with you? You don't seem happy. Wang Howren asked. My grandfather wants me to marry a man I don't know. That man is 35 years old, and I'm only 23 years old. He is so much older than me. I really don't understand what my grandfather is thinking to actually want me to marry such a man. Tang Bingyin felt very wronged and cried. Hearing this, Wang Howren's heart skipped a beat. Could there be another main character? What's the man's background? Do you know? Wang Howren immediately asked. I don't know much. It is said that he used to be a soldier and just came back from abroad. Tang Bingyin said, used to be a soldier and came back from abroad. Could he be a soldier king? With Tang Bingyin's qualifications, she could definitely be the female lead model of Iceberg CEO. Looking at the novels, there were novels such as My Beautiful Iceberg CEO Wife, My Wife, and Beautiful CEO's Wife, and The Male CEO's Wife, and the male lead in those novels. In the early stages of the plot, the female lead was forced to get married. Tang Bingyun's current situation seemed to be very suitable. It's the 21st century. What era is it now? How can there be such a ridiculous thing? Annie Tang can refuse, Wang Howren suggested. Of course I didn't want to agree, so I quarreled with Grandpa. Grandpa was so angry that he vomited blood. He called the doctor over for a checkup. After the checkup, they found that Grandpa has. Tang Bingyun's voice became more and more choked as she spoke. In the end, she could not continue. Is it a terminal illness? Wang Howren asked. The doctor said that Grandpa has late-stage lung cancer. Tang Bingyin finished speaking and started crying. Wang Howren immediately smelled the scent of a trap. What the hell? Which idiotic author came up with this plot? The female lead did not agree to the marriage and used such a vile way to coerce the female lead to push the plot forward. F***CK. Late-stage lung cancer. It's so serious. I'll tell my mother and come with her to visit old Master Tang. Wang Howren was going to visit him personally. Actually, visiting old Master Tang was secondary. His main purpose was to meet the Soldier King protagonist and find out more about him. After ending the call with Tang Bingyun, Wang Haoran immediately called Zhen Li. Zhen Li's national beauty and heavenly fragrance had business dealings with the Tang family. She also knew old Master Tang. Now, that old Master Tang had such a serious illness, it was only right for her to visit him. After Zhen Li received the news, she didn't say anything and immediately set off. Wang Haoran called the driver and sent him to the Tang family's manor. The two met at the manor's entrance. When Tang Bingyun heard that Wang Haoran and Zhen Li were coming, she came to the door early to wait for them. Tang Bingyun's cold and pretty face looked a little haggard. Her eyes were red, and it was obvious that she had cried many times. Aunt Zhen. Tang Bingyun subconsciously called out this name. Zhen Li frowned with obvious displeasure. She was obviously not happy to be called this name, because she felt that she was being called old. However, when she saw Tang Bingyun's situation, she did not argue with Tang Bingyun. Bingyun, there may still be a chance to save you. Don't be too sad. Take care of yourself. Zhen Li comforted her. Thank you for your concern, Aunt Zhen. Please come in. Tang Bingyun stretched out her hand and gestured. Because Zhen Li was present, Tang Bingyun felt guilty, so she did not say anything to Wang Haoran. She just looked at Wang Haoran with a burning gaze. Then, Tang Bingyun led Zhen Li and Wang Haoran into the manor. They walked through the garden path and soon came to a quiet and elegant room. In the quaint room, there was the smell of high-quality sandalwood in the air. Tang Lao was lying on the bed, his face pale and sickly. Yang Wuxian was sitting upright on the stool beside the bed. He looked around with bright eyes, full of a feeling of disdain for the world. Wang Haoran saw this and immediately made a judgment. He could be so pretentious just by sitting like this. He was most likely the protagonist. He immediately spent 100 villain points to check. Protagonist: Yang Wuxian, combat strength, 539, charm, 148, protagonist aura, for 121 skills, master-level individual combat skills, master-level assassination skills, master-level firearms proficiency, master-level sniping skills, master-level mixed combat skills, master-level detection skills. With these attributes and skills, he was definitely a super soldier king. In terms of combat strength, Wang Haoran could beat this soldier king to the ground. However, this guy knew how to snipe. If he lay on the rooftop and sniped from a few hundred meters away, Wang Haoran might be injured. Yes, he might be injured. Because Yang Wuxian's protagonist aura was only 421, Wang Haoran's villain aura was more than twice his. The higher the aura points, the higher the luck value. Yang Wuxian's luck value was far worse than Wang Haoran's. The possibility of Yang Wuxian sniping Wang Haoran was almost negligible. In short, the threat of this Soldier King protagonist wasn't that great. In Wang Haoran's mind, he had already labeled Yingguo Mountain as a fat sheep that he could take advantage of. The master behind Xiao Yifeng was always a hidden danger. In addition, he learned from the conversation between Qin Kai and Qin Yunhan that there were hidden martial arts sects in this world. Wang Haoran only had 20 years of cultivation. He was definitely not a match for the top masters of those hidden martial arts sections. If he wanted to touch the ceiling of this world's martial arts, the fastest way was to accumulate villain points to exchange for cultivation. If he could accumulate 100 or 200 years of cultivation, then he wouldn't have to worry so much. At that time, he could kill the protagonist whenever he saw one. Of course, this was a more optimistic view. It was only limited to the situation of martial arts cultivation. If he looked at it more pessimistically, it would not be so simple. Chapter 111. Wang Haoran found that in the system shop, a large amount of true qi could be exchanged for a small amount of spiritual qi according to a certain ratio. Spiritual qi was something that only immortal cultivators had. Pessimistically, there might be immortal cultivators in this world. This was because in some immortal cultivator novels, the protagonist would pretend to be something in the city in the early stages of the plot. After pretending to be something in the city, they would rush out of Earth and go to other planets to pretend to be something. For example, in novels such as a small farmer obtaining a cultivation inheritance, an immortal lord returning to the city an immortal emperor returning to the city, an immortal king returning to the city, a demon emperor returning to the city, and so on. The protagonists were all immortal cultivators. These immortal cultivator protagonists were very indifferent to life and treated human lives as grass. Just because they were immortal cultivators, they could kill the villains like cutting vegetables and would not leave any evidence. They were simply lawless. If he really encountered such immortal cultivator protagonists, no matter how high Wong Howren's inner strength was, he would only be killed in an instant. How could a martial arts cultivator defeat an immortal cultivator? It was always good to prepare for a rainy day. In order not to be cut up like vegetables by the immortal cultivator protagonists, he had to make himself stronger as soon as possible. He had to try his best to squeeze more points out of the weaker protagonists. As long as he could exchange for a large amount of true chi, he could convert this true chi into spiritual chi. From martial arts to immortal cultivators. Just as Wong Howren was thinking about this, Zhenli came to the bedside and had already finished asking about old Master Tang. Then, she signaled to her son with her eyes. Seeing this, Wong Howren immediately put away his thoughts and prepared to greet old Master Tang. "Grandpa Tang, I am." Wong Howren gently grabbed Tang Lao's hand. He was about to introduce himself and say some words of comfort, but before he could finish, he suddenly looked at Tang Lao with a strange expression. Although Tang Lao's face was as pale as wax, and he looked like he was about to die, his pulse was very calm, and he was quite healthy. This guy was clearly pretending to be sick to force Tang Bingyun to marry someone else. This old man is really bad. He even tricked his own granddaughter. Wong Howren had seen through Tang Lao, but his expression did not change. Exposing Boss Tang Lao's words in front of him was tantamount to slapping him in the face. If things went wrong, his relationship with Boss Tang Lao would be strained. This was not worth it. Knowing that Tang Lao was faking his illness was enough. The problem of whether the marriage contract would go through was still Tang Bingyun. As long as Tang Bingyun could stand it, the marriage would never happen. After sorting out these thoughts, Wong Howren expressed his condolences as a junior. Then he suddenly turned to Tang Bingyun and said, "Auntie Tang, I asked you to help me choose the jade necklace last time. You should have chosen it, right?" Hearing this, Tang Bingyun was stunned for a moment, but she immediately reacted and nodded seriously. "Yes, it's in my room. Come with me to get it." The two of them left everyone's sight and came to Tang Bingyun's room. "There's no one else here now. What do you want to talk to me about?" Tang Bingyun was very smart. Of course, she knew that Wong Howren wanted to talk to her in private. "Your grandpa is faking his illness," Wong Howren said directly. "Faking his illness? How did you know?" Tang Bingyun was stunned. "How was your grandpa's health before? How was his appetite during meals?" His blood pressure was a little high and he had some rheumatism, but his appetite was quite good during meals. Tang Bingyun thought for a moment and then replied, "A person with late-stage stomach cancer won't have such a good appetite." Wong Howren guided Tang Bingyun's thoughts. "And think about it yourself. Your grandpa didn't get sick earlier or later, but when he proposed a marriage and you didn't agree, he suddenly fell sick, and it's a terminal illness. Don't you think it's strange?" Hearing this, Tang Bingyun also became suspicious. "Then let me ask you again. Who's the person who examined your grandpa?" Wong Howren struck while the iron was hot and asked, "It's Grandpa's personal doctor. He's been treating Grandpa for about 15 years. Since they're so close, isn't it easy for your grandpa to get the doctor to tell some lies?" Wong Howren said. Tang Bingyun nodded in agreement, but she still had some doubts. "But I saw Grandpa vomiting blood. The actors in the TV series also vomited blood. Looks like Grandpa already guessed that I wouldn't agree, so he set a trap in advance." Tang Bingyun's thoughts were completely clear, and all her doubts were gone. "Grandpa, seriously? He pretended to be sick to trick me into getting married. I'll expose him now." The sadness in her heart was gone, and it was replaced by anger. "If you expose your grandpa now, he'll turn around and threaten you with jumping off the building. What will you do then? Your method can't solve the root of the problem. It won't change your grandpa's decision to let you get married. You should give up on the idea of exposing your grandpa." Wong Howren dissuaded her. Then what should I do?" Tang Bingyun was a little confused because of the marriage and her grandpa's fake illness. She had no idea at the moment and could only ask Wang Haoran for help. "Don't worry, I'll find a way to help you." Wang Haoran was confident and comforted her. Tang Bingyun was touched. She stared at Wang Haoran in a daze. Ding! The female lead Tang Bingyun's favorability towards the host has increased by 5. Current favorability is 60, admiration. Ding! The host has touched the female lead Tang Bingyun's heart. Obtained 100 villain points. "Why are you so good to me?" Tang Bingyun's cold eyes became especially gentle as she stared at Wang Haoran and asked, "Annie Tang, you're so beautiful like a fairy. That man doesn't deserve you at all. I can't stand it, so of course I have to help you." Wang Haoran would not say his true thoughts, so he made up a random reason. But that's it. Tang Bingbing was a little disappointed, but she hid it well on her face. "Did that man ask you out?" Wang Haoran asked. "He wanted to ask me out for dinner, but I thought Grandpa was seriously ill, so I wasn't in the mood. Also, I don't like this person, so how could I agree to it?" "No, you have to agree to it." Wang Haoran smiled mysteriously. Tang Bingyun thought she had misheard and couldn't help but be stunned. "I'll go with you." Wang Haoran winked at Tang Bingyun. "You mean?" Tang Bingyun understood and vaguely guessed what he meant. "Yes, let him know the difficulty and back off." "But will he believe it?" Tang Bingyun felt that this method was not very good. "I'll find a way to make him believe it, but Annie Tang, you must cooperate with me." Wang Haoran wanted to give her a heads up. "How do I cooperate?" "When the time comes, you'll understand when you see my eyes and actions," Wang Haoran said vaguely. "Okay." Tang Bingyun did not ask any more questions due to her trust in Wang Haoran. She nodded and agreed. Chapter 112. Night fell. At the Grand Marriott. In the restaurant, a man and a woman sat opposite each other. The man was Yang Wuxian, and the woman was Tang Bingyun. Yang Wuxian chose the place. He had not been in Qingling City for long, and he did not know what good restaurants there were. However, after he came to the Grand Marriott last night, he felt that the environment was good and was quite high-end, so he chose this place. This is a 5-star wine hotel, and the cost is not low. Can you afford it later? Tang Bingyun's tone was very cold, and even had a hint of sarcasm. Tang Bingyun's expression was gentler in front of Wang Haoran, but to other irrelevant people, she had an indifferent and cold iceberg face. "Miss Tang, you don't have to worry about that. I've been abroad for so long, and I've made some money. Although I dare not say that I'm a billionaire, I still have a few billion." Yang Wuxian showed a charming smile. Then, he habitually took out a cigarette, but he quickly realized that the person sitting in front of him was not his prey, but his future wife. Yang Wuxian still wanted to take care of her feelings, so he quickly put the cigarette away. "What did you do abroad to make so much money?" Tang Bingyun asked casually. "I started my own business," Yang Wuxian said casually. However, this was the truth. He founded a mercenary group abroad, recruited members, and took on some missions. After completing the missions, he would receive a very generous commission. That was how he earned those billions. Tang Bingyun was not interested in Yang Wuxian. Since he did not want to elaborate on what he did, she naturally did not ask. "Let's order," Yang Wuxian said. "No hurry. There's still someone who's not here yet," Tang Bingyun said. "Isn't it just you and me?" Yang Wuxian was a little surprised. "I agreed to come out with you, but did I say that I would be alone? If you don't want to, then cancel the dinner." Tang Bingyun picked up her handbag and pretended to leave. It's good to have more people. Although Yang Wuxian was not happy to have other people, he had no other choice but to agree. While they were talking, Wang Haoran, who had arrived late, arrived and walked over. "Bingyun." Wang Haoran came to Tang Bingyun's side and called out gently. Tang Bingyun's heart was moved for no reason. Finally, she didn't call her Annie Tang anymore. "Haoran, sit beside me." Tang Bingyun's iceberg, like pretty face, bloomed with a smile like spring snow melting. She pulled Wang Haoran to sit beside her. Previously, Wang Haoran vaguely mentioned it, so Tang Bingyun understood that he wanted to pretend to be a couple with her. Of course, Tang Bingyun had to act more intimately. "What's the relationship between you two?" Yang Wuxian narrowed his eyes and asked. "Can't you tell?" Tang Bingyun held Wang Haoran's hand a little tighter. At noon, I heard him call you Auntie Tang with my own ears. That's just a title. I'm actually not much older than him. We've been dating for 1 or 2 years, but due to some secular views, we only dated in private. Even my grandfather doesn't know about this. Tang Bingyun started to talk nonsense. He doesn't look like he's even 20 years old. Do you think I'll believe you? Even if you want to find a shield, you don't have to find someone so young. Are you looking down on me? Yang Wuxian sneered slightly. You don't believe me? Wang Haoran suddenly spoke. You're just a kid who hasn't even grown out his hair. You better go back to school. Before Yang Wuxian could finish his words, Wang Haoran smacked his lips and kissed Tang Bingyun's snow-white cheek. Yang Wuxian's words stopped abruptly, and his face was filled with disbelief. Tang Bingyun was stunned. Fortunately, Wang Haoran had warned her in advance and asked her to cooperate according to the situation. She had no way to back down now. She could only shyly say to Wang Haoran, "There's an outsider here. Don't be like this. He doesn't believe that we're a couple, right? I'll prove it to him." Wang Haoran actually did it on purpose. After replying to Tang Bingyun, he looked at Yang Wuxian. "Do you believe me now?" Yang Wuxian frowned. Anger flashed in his eyes, but he still looked calm on the surface. Wang Haoran was amazed. He was just a weapon king, but his psychological quality was really good. "Looks like you still don't believe me. Then open your eyes and see clearly." Wang Haoran hugged Tang Bingyun and kissed her. Tang Bingyun was shocked. She really wanted to push Wang Haoran away, but if she did, things would be exposed. Therefore, she could only passively cooperate with Wang Haoran. However, Tang Bingyun had always been thinking about Wang Haoran. She did not reject Wang Haoran's actions. She even unknowingly became intoxicated by it. For a moment, Tang Bingyun almost forgot where she was. Crack! A porcelain cup directly shattered into pieces under the grip of a big hand full of calluses. Ding! The host caused the protagonist Yang Wuxian to lose his mental balance. Gained 400 villain points. Yang Wuxian protagonist aura -20. Host villain aura +20. Enough. Yang Wuxian could not bear it anymore. Wang Haoran pretended not to hear it. Creak! The sturdy table made a buzzing sound under Yang Wuxian's palm. Ding! The host caused the protagonist Yang Wuxian to lose his mental balance. Gained 400 villain points. Yang Wuxian protagonist aura -20. Host villain aura +20. Crack! Cracks appeared on the table. Ding! The host caused the protagonist Yang Wuxian to lose his mental balance. Gained 400 villain points. Yang Wuxian protagonist aura -20. Host villain aura +20. As the saying goes, things should not be done more than 3 times. Wang Haoran was afraid that Yang Wuxian would have a mental breakdown like Xiao Yifeng, causing him to lose his ability to play. Only then did he reluctantly let go of Tang Bingyun. The wool had to be pulled out slowly. He could not kill the sheep in one go. A steady stream was the way of the king. Tang Bingyun gasped for breath. She only felt that her heart was beating very fast. Both sides of her cheeks were boiling hot. At the same time, she glanced at Wang Haoran with some resentment. She had no experience at all. She was passive the whole time, completely led by Wang Haoran. She was 23 years old, but she was still a novice. This bad boy was 5 years younger than her, but he had a lot of experience. This bad boy must have had a lot of relationships. Yang Wuxian looked at Tang Bingyun with disappointment and said, "I know you are not satisfied with this marriage, but you don't have to sacrifice yourself and find such a brat to play with you." Tang Bingyun was stunned for a moment. She was a little surprised that Yang Wuxian could see through her, but she still forced herself to pretend. "I have been with him for a long time. Believe it or not, I'm not a fool. Although you were very cooperative with him just now, your cooperation was very stiff. I think it's obviously your first time." Wang Haoran looked calm on the surface, but he thought to himself, this soldier king is really experienced. He can see through this? If I had known, I would have rehearsed with Tang Bingyun in advance. Chapter 113. After being exposed, Tang Bingyun couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. For a moment, she didn't know how to deal with it. She subconsciously looked at Wang Haoran. "Since you've seen through me, I won't pretend anymore. We're really not a couple." Wang Haoran took a new cup, poured a cup of tea, and handed it to Yang Wuxian. However, he added a little something in the process of passing the cup to Yang Wuxian. The supreme level poison technique's poisoning method left no trace. Even if it was face-to-face, it wouldn't be discovered. Drink some tea to cool down, Wang Haoran said. Yang Wuxian had a lot of opinions about Wang Haoran, but he didn't intend to argue with such a little boy because he was a soldier king and Tang Bingyun was also present, because that would make him look very ungentlemanly. In his opinion, the most important thing a man should not lose in front of a woman was his manners. After all, the two of them only kissed a few times. Over the years, the number of women Yingwei Mountain had had in the outside world was uncountable. Naturally, he wouldn't ask Tang Bingyun to be like a blank piece of paper. Yang Wuxian picked up the teacup, took a sip, and put it down. It was a way to express to Tang Bingyun that he didn't care about what Wang Haoran did just now. Wang Haoran laughed in his heart, but he didn't show it on his face. He just said, "I'm hungry. Let's order." The waiter brought the menu. Wang Haoran specifically ordered the expensive dishes. He ordered 5 of the hotel's signature dishes alone. Yang Wuxian frowned when he saw this, but he didn't say anything to stop him. After all, Tang Bingyun was here. He still had to be generous. "President Tang, why didn't you tell us that you were coming?" Tang Bingyun picked up the menu and was about to order when she suddenly heard a greeting from the side. She looked over and saw a man and a woman walking to the table, arm in arm. The man had a big belly and was in his 50s. His eyes were very small and squinted. The woman was young and beautiful. She had the aura of an intellectual beauty. This pair looked like father and daughter, but in fact, they were an old couple. This pot-bellied man was Shun Kong, and this Grand Marriott was one of his properties. "Oh, it's President Shun and Lady Shun. Nice to meet you." Tang Bingyun greeted them with a smile. When she looked at Lady Shun, her smile was out of politeness, but when she looked at Shun Kong, her smile had a kind of disgust. Lady Shun also smiled at Tang Bingyun. She could not help but take another look at her, and a sense of jealousy rose in her heart. She was also considered a beauty, but compared to Tang Bingyun, she was at least 2 levels inferior. Lady Shun turned her gaze and looked at the other 2 people at the table. That handsome guy who was not even 20 years old made her eyes light up. However, before she could take a closer look, she suddenly caught a glimpse of Yang Wuxian. "It's him." Lady Shun was shocked. Last night, the 2 of them had a ridiculous night in this hotel. Lady Shun originally thought that she would never see Yang Wuxian again in her life. Who knew that the world was so small? Lady Shun tried hard to suppress her panic and try to calm herself down. Compared to Lady Shun's nervousness, Yang Wuxian was calm and composed. The reason for these 2 different attitudes was actually very clear. Lady Shun wanted to take revenge on Shun Kong, but she did not dare to do so openly. She was afraid that Shun Kong would vent his anger on her after knowing that she had put a hat on his head. Lady Shun definitely did not dare to bear it. Yang Wuxian was the king of mercenaries. He was very capable and could move freely in the city. Even if Shun Kong found out that he had an affair with his wife, Shun Kong could not do anything to him. Yang Wuxian even deliberately looked at Lady Shun to harass her. He was thinking about what had happened last night. What's the meaning of this guy's gaze? Wang Haoran was not interested in Shun Kong and his wife at all. Therefore, he did not pay attention to the 2 of them and only looked at Yang Wuxian. Yang Wuxian's strange expression made Wang Haoran feel a little strange. Following Yang Wuxian's gaze, he saw Lady Shun avoiding his gaze. Panic flashed across her face. Could there be a story between these 2? Wang Haoran secretly guessed. The protagonists of those King of Mercenaries novels used to live a life of bloodshed. In such an environment, once they relaxed, they would inevitably indulge in pleasure. And women were the best concoction. Therefore, almost every King of Mercenaries was the King of Mercenaries. They were very unruly. If Yang Wuxian and Lady Shun had an affair, it would not be strange at all. Moreover, from Shun Kang's background and identity, it was obvious that he was a rich man who had been slapped in the face. This was because Shun Kong was famous for being a playboy in Qingling. It was common to see rumors about Shun Kong and some young model or celebrity in the gossip news. Shun Kong did not notice the abnormality between Yang Wuxian and Lady Shun. This was because his attention was all on Tang Bingyun. He had a covetous look on his face. This old pervert obviously wanted to hit on Tang Bingyun. Not to mention Wang Haoran. Even if Yang Wuxian made a move, this old pervert would not be able to bear the consequences. However, before Shin Kong could react, he suddenly received a phone call. Shin Kong left for a while to answer a phone call. After a while, he came back. President Tang, put the bill on me. I still have something to do here. I'll come back later. After that, he looked at Lady Shun and said coldly, You don't have to follow me. The general manager of the hotel called and asked me to deal with some business. You can walk around the hotel by yourself. Got it. Lady Shun responded obediently, but she sneered in her heart. She was very clear about Shun Kang's character. Deal with business? She was afraid that he would go to a room in the hotel to have a private rendezvous with some little b****. Enjoy your meal. I'll leave first. Lady Shun said politely to Tang Bingyun and the others. Then, she walked aimlessly to other parts of the hotel. I'm going to the washroom. Yang Wuxian suddenly got up and left after saying that. He doesn't believe that we're a couple at all. Our acting is in vain. Tang Bingyun sighed and said to Wang Haoran when she saw that there were only 2 people left. If plan A doesn't work, there's still plan B. Wang Haoran comforted her. So there are 2 plans. What's plan B? Tang Bingyun felt that there was a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. She couldn't help but ask in surprise. It's a secret for the time being. Wang Haoran also got up from his seat and said, I'm going to the washroom. I'll be back in a while. After that, Wang Haoran quickly left Tang Bingyun's sight. He was not in a hurry to go to the washroom. It was because he saw Yang Wuxian chasing after Lady Shun with his X-ray vision. Just now, he found that there was something wrong with the look in their eyes. Obviously, there was a story between them. Since Yang Wuxian, the romantic soldier king, chased after Lady Shun, it was certainly not just to catch up. With his X-ray vision, Wang Haoran quickly found the 2 of them in a cubicle in the men's washroom on the same floor. He also pretended to go to the washroom and secretly came to the cubicle next to Yang Wuxian's. He was ready to watch a good show. Chapter 114. Wang Haoran heard a voice coming from the room next door. Are you crazy? Why did you drag me here? Lady Shun lowered her voice and said angrily, I saw that you were in a bad mood, so I wanted to comfort you. Yang Wuxian said in a dignified manner. He was actually a little upset because of Tang Bingyun and Wang Haoran's acting, so he wanted to find a place to vent. No need. Lady Shun's voice was cold. Woman, you're lying. You really need to be comforted. Yang Wuxian revealed a devilish smile. Hearing this, Lady Shun was silent for a moment. Then, she got hot-headed and went all out. Then show me what you're capable of. Shin Kong just found an excuse to leave and left me behind. He must have secretly gone to meet his little lover. He doesn't care about me. Why should I keep my chastity for him? Anyway, I've already put the hat on him. It doesn't matter if it happens a few more times. Hearing Lady Shun's approval, Yang Wuxian was tempted. But soon, he realized that something was wrong. Lady Shun also realized that something was wrong. I don't know what's going on. I guess I didn't sleep well last night, Yang Wuxian explained with an ashen face. After a while, useless. What a waste of my expression. Lady Shun was extremely disappointed. She secretly opened the door. Seeing that there was no one in sight, she left angrily. Yang Wuxian's face was extremely pale. His head was full of question marks. Why couldn't he do it? Ding. The host used poison to destroy the male protagonist Yang Wuxian's male ability. Received 800 villain points. Yang Wuxian's protagonist aura -40. Host's villain aura +40. After receiving the system notification, Wang Haoran snickered to himself. This move, he learned it from Xiao Yifeng there. The only difference was that Xiao Yifeng used silver needles, while he used poison. This kind of poison was very hidden. Even the best modern medical equipment couldn't detect it. It was very secretive. Wang Haoran returned to the dining table. About half an hour later, Yang Wuxian returned in a daze. Obviously, this blow was too great for him. Even someone as determined as the Blood Prison Wolf King couldn't withstand it. At this moment, Wang Haoran and Tang Bingyun had finished their meal. In addition, Wang Haoran even took the time to go to the hotel to find a computer and search for some information about Lady Shun and Yang Wuxian's last time. Mr. Yin, why did you take so long to come back? Wang Haoran asked deliberately. I just went to the washroom and bumped into an acquaintance. We chatted for a while. Yang Wuxian came back to his senses and responded. There's still some food left. You can eat by yourself. We'll be leaving first, Wang Haoran said. Okay, Yang Wuxian replied woodenly. He just wanted to figure out the reason for his body's abnormality. He didn't have time to care about anything else. Wang Haoran and Tang Bingyun walked out of the hotel. Why did Yang Wuxian look like he lost his soul? Does it have anything to do with you? Tang Bingyun asked. You can say that. Wang Haoran nodded. This is your plan B, right? What did you do? Tang Bingyun was curious. Annie Tang, don't ask about this. Anyway, I'm doing it for your own good. Don't you believe me? Wang Haoran didn't want to talk about this with her anymore. Of course not. I believe you. However, can you stop calling me Annie Tang? I'm really afraid that if you call me that too much, I'll be old, Tang Bingyun said with a bitter face. No. If I don't call you Annie Tang, won't it mess up the seniority? Absolutely not. Wang Haoran was still holding a grudge against Tang Bingyun for taking advantage of his seniority. He wasn't willing to change the way he addressed her now. You little brat, do you know how to talk about seniority now? Then why did you treat me like that just now? Tang Bingyun was suddenly anxious. She wanted to use the matter of pretending to be a couple to fight back. However, when the words came to her mouth, she suddenly couldn't say it. Yang Wuxian probably won't take the initiative to bother you. Now, only your grandfather is left. Wang Haoran stopped teasing Tang Bingyun and suddenly changed the topic. Then what should I do next? Tang Bingyun also put away her emotions and asked seriously. I'll send you a video. Wang Haoran started typing on his phone and sent a video to Tang Bingyun via WeChat. He found out that Yang Wuxian and Lady Shun were having an affair. After eating with Tang Bingyun, he left alone for a while and used the hotel's computer to check the hotel records of Yang Wuxian and Lady Shun. Of course, these records could not be found under normal circumstances. However, as long as it was a proper hotel, the name would be registered with the ID card. After the registration, these records would be uploaded to the relevant department's computer. He used his top-notch hacking skills to hack in and search for the records of Yang Wuxian and Lady Shun. However, there was no record of Yang Wuxian at all. This guy did not even have an ID card. However, he found a few records of Lady Shun. Most of the records were from a few years ago. There was only one recent record of her. Just last night, she booked a room at the Grand Marriott. Based on this record, Wang Haoran hacked into the hotel surveillance records again and found the footage of Yang Wuxian and Lady Shun coming here. Wang Haoran intercepted the footage of Yang Wuxian and Lady Shun entering a room at night and coming out the next day. An adult man and woman entered a room at night and came out the next day. Even if one used their toes to think, they would know what had happened. After receiving the video, Tang Bingyun opened it and looked at it. She immediately understood and felt very disgusted. No wonder Yang Wuxian and Lady Shun's eyes were strange just now. So this is the reason. After she said that in disdain, she looked at Wang Haoran in confusion. Where did you get this video? Of course it's not from the right way. If I'm caught, I might be fined or even detained for a few days. You're not going to report me, are you? Wang Haoran joked. What are you thinking? Of course not. Tang Bingyun rolled her eyes at him. Show this video to your old man. Okay, I'll go back now. Thank you. Tang Bingyun naturally understood what he meant. A spring breeze smile appeared on her frosty face. Ding! Tang Bingyun's favorability towards the host has increased by 5. Current favorability towards the host is 65 admiration. Ding! The host has influenced the direction of the plot. Gained 200 villain points. Wait a minute. Since your old man agreed to the marriage, he should have some understanding of Yang Wuxian's style. If this video achieves the effect you want, you don't have to quarrel with him. You can choose to ask for Yang Wuxian's medical report, Wang Haoran said. Ask for a medical report. Why is that? Tang Bingyun was a little confused. Think about it. Yang Wuxian likes to play outside so much. Who knows what illness he might have contracted? If the medical report shows that there's something wrong with Yang Wuxian, your old man will definitely cancel the marriage. Wang Haoran made up an excuse. In fact, with the protagonist's luck, it was almost impossible for him to contract an unclean illness. However, it was a fact that Yang Wuxian was disabled in that aspect. He did not believe that Tang Lao would still insist on the marriage if he knew that Yang Weixin was a eunuch. You're right. This Yang Weixin is so disgusting. Maybe he really has some illness. Tang Bingyun nodded in agreement. She felt goosebumps all over her body. She suddenly hated Yang Weixin to the extreme. Chapter 115. At night, a group of middle-aged women were square dancing in an empty space under a slightly dilapidated residential building. After work, Fang Xian rode home on a public bike. These middle-aged women were all neighbors and knew Fang Xian. Fang Xian politely greeted a few familiar middle-aged women. One of the middle-aged women walked over and wanted to matchmake Fang Xian. She started to talk eloquently. She said that the man was a senior executive of a certain company, had a salary of $500,000 a year, was married for the second time, and had 2 children. Regarding this, Fang Xian would definitely reject it. Even if she was crazy, she would not marry such a person. However, the middle-aged woman was a little unhappy. Because the man was her relative, she immediately started to criticize Fang Xian when she saw how unwilling she was. She said that Fang Xian's family was in debt. She had a 20-year-old unemployed brother and 2 parents who were burdens. With such conditions, it was good enough that someone wanted her. How could she complain that she was married for the second time? These middle-aged women were very eloquent. Fang Xian could not win against them at all, so she could only choose to avoid them. However, the middle-aged woman did not give up and blocked Fang Xian. At this moment, the roar of a car engine was heard. Everyone looked over and saw a golden supercar drive over and stop in front of the middle-aged woman. The middle-aged women were stunned. They had only seen this kind of supercar on TV before. They did not expect to see it with their own eyes today. Fang Xian was also very curious. There were a few dilapidated residential buildings nearby. The people who lived here were all at the bottom of society. Why would such a luxurious supercar drive here? Was it some rich second-generation heir? Everyone was very confused. Soon, the scissor door of the supercar opened and a person walked out that made everyone's jaws drop. It was Fang Heng. Little brother, this car. Fang Xian looked confused. Lamborghini Danyu. What do you think? Is this car cool? Fang Heng showed off proudly. You bought it? Fang Xian exclaimed. That's right. Fang Heng nodded. How much? They're all top-notch. Including the procedures, it's only 8 million. Fang Heng looked relaxed. Wow. The surrounding aunties were all stunned. Had this Fang clan kid become so rich? He actually bought a sports car worth 8 million. The group of aunties also stopped their square dancing. They immediately gathered around and enthusiastically introduced Fang Heng to girls. Fang Heng had always been ridiculed by these aunties. Now that he saw them like this, he felt comfortable all over. It felt so good to be rich. However, Fang Heng's happiness didn't last long before he saw his sister's tense face. It was obvious that he was unhappy and even angry. Meanwhile, Wang Haoran, who was somewhere else, suddenly received a system notification. Ding! The host manipulated behind the scenes and caused the main character Fang Heng to fail in showing off in front of the female lead, Fang Xian. Gained 300 villain points. This made Wang Haoran stunned. He had just parted ways with Tang Bingyun and was about to go to Qin Yunhan's dorm. After receiving the notification, he quickly operated his phone and began monitoring Fang Xian's movements. Sis, I only spent 8 million to buy a car. It's a little expensive, but it's nothing. I made so much money. Fang Heng couldn't help but say. Hearing this, Fang Xian became even angrier. He made so much money. If it wasn't for her sacrifice, this idiot of a brother wouldn't have made a single cent. Fang Xian's original plan was to use the 10 million to treat her parents' illness. Now, Fang Heng actually used the money to buy a sports car. Not only did he buy a sports car, but he also bought such an expensive one. According to Fang Xian's understanding, a Lamborghini with a lower configuration could be bought for 6 million. This guy, on the other hand, bought a top-notch one. He was crazy. Go and return this Lamborghini tomorrow. Fang Xian said. Sis, why do I have to return it? Fang Heng was puzzled. I received a call today. They found a suitable kidney for my mother and can now arrange for the surgery. However, the various costs of the kidney transplant and the post-treatment treatment are very expensive. It will probably cost close to 2 million. Fang Xian said, You found a kidney? That's great. Fang Heng was surprised at first, then said, Sis, you still have 20 million left. Sis, don't you still have close to 20 million? We could just use the money you have. Fang Xian was speechless. She had no money at all. Fang Heng found some fake antiques and sold them to Wang Haoran. Fang Xian, of course, didn't want Wang Haoran to be taken advantage of, so she transferred the money to Wang Haoran. In the face of Fang Heng's question, Fang Xian didn't dare to tell him about her disgraceful deeds. A car is just a means of transportation. Why did you buy such a good sports car? Return it tomorrow. Fang Xian could only say, No way. If I return it, I will lose a lot of money. Also, I like this sport car very much. I don't want to return it. Fang Heng was stubborn. You don't even listen to me? Fang Xian's face turned serious. Sis, I earned the money. I can spend it however I want. Fang Heng curled his lips. Fang Xian was furious. She raised her hand and wanted to slap her silly brother. But in the end, she put her hand down and didn't hit him. Fang Xian sighed. After silently leaving Fang Heng's field of vision, she took out her phone and dialed a number. Fang Heng didn't want to sell the car. Where would he get the money to treat her mother's illness? The only person she could think of now was Wang Haoran. Wang Haoran, on the other side, also saw Fang Xian's call. Just now, Fang Xian and Fang Heng were arguing about whether or not to sell the car. They all heard it. Wang Haoran could naturally guess the purpose of Fang Xian's call, but he deliberately kept Fang Xian in suspense and deliberately didn't pick up her call. Fang Xian thought that Wang Haoran had something to do. After a while, she called Wang Haoran again. Wang Haoran still didn't pick up. Fang Xian was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan, jumping up and down. Wang Haoran felt that it was about time. Only then did he call Fang Xian back. I want to see you. Let's meet at the hotel we usually go to. Is that okay? Fang Xian took the initiative to say, I have an appointment. Maybe another day. Wang Haoran started to talk nonsense. It's okay. I can wait for you. It doesn't matter how long it takes, Fang Xian said. We're both adults. I already said that I have an appointment. Don't you understand? Wang Haoran wanted to trick Fang Xian. Hearing this, Fang Xian finally understood. That's right. He was so bad. How could he only have one woman? You? Can you reject me? I'll accompany you? Fang Xian didn't care about her face anymore. I treat everyone equally. I can't chase others away because of you. Wang Haoran's attitude was firm. After a pause, he suddenly changed the topic. But if you're willing, I can eat the fish and bear paws together. Fang Xian was dumbfounded when she heard this. She didn't speak for a long time. Then I'll bother you. Bye. Wang Haoran didn't waste any time. Don't hang up. Fang Xian hurriedly stopped him. After taking a deep breath, she asked, Where? The usual place. Chapter 116. At night. In the Tang family manor. In the quiet and elegant room, Tang Lao was leisurely sipping tea. At this moment, there was a knock on the door, followed by a question. Grandpa, are you asleep? Tang Lao recognized his granddaughter's voice. He immediately put away the tea and lay on the bed, pretending to be sick. No, come in. Hearing this, Tang Bingyun pushed the door open and entered. Bingyun, I'm afraid that I don't have much time left. Before I die, I just want to see you get married. Can you promise me? Tang Lao looked like he was about to die, as if he was confessing his last regret. Tang Bingyun knew that her grandpa was just pretending. She was not moved at all, but she still cooperated with him on the surface. I can get married, but I have to find a good husband. I don't want to get married casually. Yang Wishen is the best husband for you, Tang Lao said eagerly. Is that so? Tang Bingyun smiled indifferently. She took out the video given by Wang Haoran and showed it to her grandpa. This woman is Shun Kang's wife. They are already married. Yang Wishen is completely destroying their family. Grandpa, do you think you can entrust your life to such a disgusting person? After watching the video, Tang Lao was secretly dissatisfied with Yang Wishen, but he did not change his mind. It takes two to tango. Lady Shun must be willing. You can't blame Yang Wishen for this. Grandpa, are you saying that Yang Wishen was forced? Tang Bingyun sneered. It's normal for men to put on a show. Besides, he is not married yet. When he gets married, he will definitely not do this. Tang Lao exculpated Yang Wuxian. Tang Bingyin was a little speechless. Grandpa was too much. Even in this situation, he was still siding with Yang Wuxian. Fortunately, Wang Haoren had already warned him. Tang Bingyin still had a backup plan. Let's put this aside for now. However, this Yang Wuxian's behavior is so unscrupulous that he might have contracted some sort of illness. If you want me to reconsider the engagement, he needs to provide me with a detailed health report. That's not a problem. I'll call him now. After that, Tang Lao immediately picked up his phone and dialed number. In a hotel. You look strong and strong, but you're actually useless. Then why did you come out to play? Go die. Trash. A gorgeously dressed woman picked up her coat and bag. After criticizing Yang Wuxian with a few words, she stormed out of the door. Yang Wuxian's face looked as if he had lost his parents. When he faced Lady Shen before, he still had a fluke mentality, thinking that he was not in the mood because he was too tired. After he adjusted his mood, he went to the bar again, trying to find a woman to test it out. However, the result was the same. There was really something wrong with him. Buzz. The phone vibrated. Yang Wuxian was not in the mood and did not want to answer the phone. However, when he saw that the call was from Tang Lao, he reluctantly pressed the answer button. Guishan, great news. Go to the hospital for a detailed physical examination. After you get the report, send it to Bingyan. If there are no problems, she will consider the engagement. Tang Lao directly reported the good news. A physical examination. Yang Wuxian's face darkened. He was not normal at all. How could he give a healthy physical examination report? I will go to the hospital for a physical examination as soon as possible. Yang Wuxian responded, trying to calm Tang Lao down. After ending the call with Tang Lao, Yang Wuxian picked up the phone. After hesitating for a moment, he dialed an international long-distance number. Smith, there is something wrong with my body and I need your help. Come to Clear Spirit City in Yin Country. Oh my God, Lord Wolf King, I am so happy to hear your voice. I heard that you have retired, and I thought that I would never see you again in this life. Clear Spirit City in Yin Country. I will come to you with my medical team as soon as possible. A foreigner on the other end of the phone said in English. All right, give me a call when you reach Clear Spirit City. I will come and pick you up. After ending the call, Yang Wuxian breathed a sigh of relief. Smith was an internationally renowned doctor, and the medical team under him was also the best. In the past, Yang Wuxian had been injured while carrying out missions and had been on the brink of death several times. He had been saved by Smith and his medical team. With Smith's help, he believed that his illness would be cured. When the time came, he would be able to produce a detailed physical examination report. It was still slightly past 9 in the evening. The third-year students of Waterluster High School were still in the evening self-study session. Wang Haoren had applied for leave and was absent from the evening self-study session. At this moment, he had come to the Grand Marriott and booked a room. He then sent a message to Wen Jing, telling her not to go back tonight and to meet him at the usual place. Wen Jing agreed happily. After that, he wrote another message and sent it to Qin Yunhan, telling her that he would come to her later. Time passed quietly. Fang Xian and Wen Jing arrived at almost the same time. The two of them looked at each other and were a little confused. The situation was a little awkward. However, Fang Xian had been on the phone with Wang Haoren, so she was mentally prepared and reacted first. Hi. Hello. Fang Xian greeted, trying to ease the awkward atmosphere. Hello. Wen Jing responded blankly, then looked at Wang Haoren in confusion. Why is there an outsider? We're on the same side. Wen Jing was startled, but she quickly understood. She had no objections to this. She thought of herself as his little kitten. A kitten's setting was to listen to her master and do whatever her master said. The next day, the master of time management, Wang Haoren, woke up in Qin Yunhan's dorm room. He had been rushing around for less than 3 hours, but he was still full of energy. He couldn't help but marvel at the magical effects of the Dragon Tiger supplement pill. The 5,000 villain points were worth it. It was an excellent investment. He checked his attributes and found that he had accumulated another 4,300 villain points. This increase was quite fast. Getting rewards from the female protagonist was much more interesting than working for the main character. From martial arts to immortal cultivation, he was counting on these female protagonists. Of course, he would still beat the main character. Today is the third day, so from now on we'll... Qin Yunhan's blissful smile gradually turned into a sigh. The world is so big. Maybe there's a miracle doctor with superb medical skills who can cure my illness. Wang Haoran started to bluff. That was his plan from the start. He would first trick Qin Yunhan, then find a suitable opportunity to say that he had been cured by a godly doctor. If he gave Qin Yunhan a reminder now, she wouldn't feel so abrupt when he returned to normal. Hearing this, Qin Yunhan's face lit up with hope again. Wang Haoran saw her reaction and couldn't help but criticize her in his mind. It seemed like this unruly young miss was craving for more after tasting it. Chapter 117. With that thought in mind, Wang Haoran couldn't help but ask, if my illness can't be cured in the future, will you still be with me? Hearing this, Qin Yunhan was about to cry. Her tone was firm. Why would you ask that? Don't you understand my feelings? In this life, I won't love anyone else other than you. I'm just saying. Wang Haoran comforted her. He thought to himself, 90, unchanging until death, favorability is indeed extraordinary. Qin Yunhan's love for me probably won't change even if I die. In other words, her tolerance must be quite high. This unruly young lady used to order me around and order me around. Now that the tables have turned, she's in for it. During class the next morning, Wang Haoran transferred 3 million yuan to Fang Xian. In less than 10 seconds, Fang Xian called. Wang Haoran walked to a quiet place to answer the phone. I'm not a greedy woman. This money is a loan to you. I'll return it to you in the future, Fang Xian said. In Fang Xian's opinion, Wang Haoran had already given her 10 million yuan. That was her price. There was no reason for her to continue asking for money. You don't have to return it. This is from me, Wang Haoran replied generously. Directly for me? Fang Xian was in disbelief. That's right. It's for you, Wang Haoran repeated. He didn't know how long it would take for Fang Xian to return the money. Wang Haoran didn't lack this money. Moreover, because of the existence of Fang Heng, this money giver, Wang Haoran even made a lot of money. It was practically a free meal. He didn't care about a few million yuan. Moreover, if he could win Fang Xian's favor and gain some rewards, it would be even more profitable. No, I can't take your money anymore. Consider it as me borrowing it from you. Fang Xian was quite stubborn and insisted. I already said I'm giving it to you, so I'm giving it to you. If you're naggy, I'll take all the money back. Wang Haoran was too lazy to argue with her, and his tone became tough. Upon hearing this, Fang Xian was immediately frightened and quickly corrected herself. All right then, but 2 million is enough for my mother's treatment. I don't need 3 million. I'll transfer the 1 million back to you. You can use the extra 1 million to buy some better clothes. Those low-quality clothes will easily sag if you wear them too much, Wang Haoran suddenly said. On the other end of the phone, Fang Xian did not speak for a long time, but Wang Haoran received a system message. Female lead Fang Xian's favorability towards the host has increased by 10. Current favorability towards the host is 55, admiration. Ding, the host has influenced the direction of the plot. Received 300 villain points. Thank you. I'll remember your kindness for the rest of my life. Fang Xian was very touched. I don't need you to remember my kindness. You might as well give me something more practical. Next time when I look for you, don't always have a straight face. Be a little more enthusiastic. Wang Haoran thought of last night and immediately held back his sarcasm. I will in the future. If you need me, I'll be there anytime. When Fang Xian said this, her face was bright red. That's what you said. Remember it. Wang Haoran happily ended the call with Fang Xian. Qingling Airport. At the exit of the airport, a 4 medical team walked out. There were about 10 people in the medical team, and 8 of them were foreigners. The leader was a man in his 50s with an aquiline nose and a pair of glasses perched on the bridge of his nose. Yang Wuxian, who had been waiting at the exit, saw the group of people and immediately went up to welcome them happily, walking to stand before the man in the lead. Smith, welcome to the Fire Country, Yang Wuxian said with a smile. My lord, it's been a long time. You are still as elegant as ever. Am I right? Smith said in his broken Yin language. Haha, you've learned the Yin language quite well. Yang Wishin said in praise. The Fire Country is a big country in the east, and I had wanted to come here to broaden my horizons. But I had not thought that it would be under such circumstances. Smith sighed and then asked, My lord, what is wrong with your body? That Yang Wishin's smile faded, and he found it hard to say. This is not a place to talk. You must be tired from the long journey. I have already booked the hotel, please. Smith nodded. Yang Wishin arranged for Smith's medical team to stay at the Grand Marriott. In the afternoon, Smith's team's top-grade medical equipment arrived. Yang Wishin had also adjusted his emotions and told Smith the truth. Smith and his team members began to examine Yang Wishin. Not long after, the test results came out. Yang Wishin did not understand the test results, and he could only ask Smith, What is really going on with me? From the test results, your body functions and organs are all normal, and there are no organic changes. Smith said, But I can't stand up. That is the truth. Would I lie to you about something like that? Yang Wishin said anxiously. Hear me out. Although there are no organic changes, but from the test results, your kidneys should be overexerted and you have lost the ability to do that. After you came back to the country, you must have been living a very indulgent life. Smith had done some research on the Yin country's doctor's theories on treatment, and he used words that Yang Wishin could understand. Yang Wishin thought back, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He had been back for half a month, and he had indeed been indulging in pleasure every night without rest. But when he was abroad, he had been like that as well. Why had nothing happened at that time? Now that he had come back, there was a problem. Could it be that the women here were poisonous? Smith, is there any way to cure me? Yang Wishin asked anxiously. My lord, we are old acquaintances, and I will tell you the truth. There is no way to cure your condition. Smith said bluntly. No, you must cure me. You must. As long as you cure me, I can give you any amount of money you want. Yang Wishin was highly agitated, and he grabbed Smith by the shoulder and shook him, shouting loudly. He had been a womanizer all his life, and he was not afraid even in the face of death. The only thing he was afraid of was not being able to do that. To him, that was 10 times, 100 times worse than death. He would never be able to accept it. My lord, please calm down. I will do my best to help you. My medical team, and I will immediately think of a solution. There will definitely be a way. Smith was being shaken until he was dizzy, and he was afraid that Yang Wishin would break his bones from exerting too much force. Hence he quickly changed his words. All right, then go quickly. Yang Wishin released his grip, but his emotions were still unstable. Smith nodded and immediately left the room to look for the other team members. But he was not intending to think of a treatment plan, but was thinking of a way to escape. Because Yang Wishin's condition could not be cured at all. If Yang Wishin were to fly into a rage, he would definitely slaughter all of them. After all, this was the infamous Blood Prison Wolf King at the top of the mercenary list. Once the Blood Prison Wolf King was enraged, he could do anything. Chapter 118. Buzz. After Smith left the room, Yang Wishin's cell phone vibrated. It was a call from Tang Lao. Yin Gui tried to control his emotions and answer the phone. Gui-shan, how's the physical examination going? Is the report out? Tang Lao asked. I haven't gotten my ID card yet. I need it when I go to a professional body for a physical examination. I can't do a physical examination for the time being. Yang Wishin lied, trying to calm Tang Lao down. Do you need my help? No, the ID card will come out in about 3 months. Yang Wishin wanted to delay the time. 3 months? Tang Lao was a little anxious, so he said, In this case, you should get engaged to Bingyan first. We can talk about other things later. Hearing this, Yang Wishin was not happy. Instead, he was very disappointed. The abnormality of his body made him feel very inferior. He didn't know how to face Tang Bingyan now. However, in order not to make Tang Lao suspicious, Yang Wishin could only say, It's up to you. Then it's all up to you. But will Frozen Cloud agree? Leave this to me. I will go and persuade Frozen Cloud. After Tang Lao finished speaking, he casually reminded, Also, you should be more careful. Don't go out to play. Hearing this, Yang Weixin's heart was almost pierced through. Even if he wanted to go out a plane now, he didn't have the ability. In the evening, Water Luster High School. Wang Haoren was bored and wanted to prank Qin Yunhan, so he sent her a message saying that he wanted to drink Mandarin duck milk tea. Qin Yunhan directly replied, "Okay." Then, she immediately trotted to the milk tea shop near the school gate and bought a cup of Mandarin duck milk tea and a cup of papaya milk tea. The Mandarin duck milk tea was Wang Haoren's. The papaya milk tea was naturally hers. "Handsome, your milk tea is here. Please sign for it." Qin Yunhan came to Wang Haoren's classroom and said in the tone of a delivery girl, "Ding, host made Su Muyin jealous. Reward, 100 villain points." Damn, the king of jealousy is acting up again. Wang Haoren pretended not to see Su Muyin. He took the milk tea from Qin Yunhan and took a sip, then spat it out immediately. "What's going on? There's too little candy," Wang Haoren complained. "I was afraid that you wouldn't like it if it was too sweet, so I asked someone to add some sugar." Qin Yunhan shrank her neck and asked, "Do you want me to buy you another one? Then what are you waiting for? Go on." Wang Haoren waved his hand to chase him away. Qin Yunhan pursed her lips. She felt a little wronged, but she still obediently went to buy milk tea. About 10 minutes later, Qin Yunhan came back with a Mandarin duck milk tea. "How much sugar did you put in? It's too sweet. I don't want to drink it." Wang Haoren took a sip and spat it out. "You just said that it wasn't sweet. This time I asked someone to add full sugar. Why didn't you say it clearly just now?" Qin Yunhan's temper flared up and she snorted. "So you're blaming me?" Wang Haoren asked back, "If I don't blame you, then should I?" Qin Yunhan's temper suddenly flared up. But halfway through, she suddenly restrained herself, took a deep breath, calmed down, and said, "Then I'll help you buy another one." This time, Qin Yunhan only asked someone to add 70% sugar. The sweetness was just right. "I suddenly don't want to drink Mandarin duck milk tea anymore. I want to drink lemon milk tea." Wang Haoren was a troublemaker. "You." Qin Yunhan had an impulse to slam the table. "You're really a rich young lady. Your temper is really bad. If you don't want to buy it, then forget it. You can leave." Wang Haoren pretended to be angry. Qin Yunhan angrily turned around and left. But 15 minutes later, Qin Yunhan came back with a cup of lemon milk tea in her hand. With a smile on her face, she said softly, "I've bought the lemon milk tea. Don't be angry, okay?" Wang Haoren clicked his tongue in wonder. He was clearly the one who started it. Qin Yunhan wasn't wrong at all. Now she actually apologized. The rich young lady who deliberately made things difficult for him had actually become such a bootlicker, the favorability level that would never change until death could simply let him do whatever he wanted. "I wanted to drink lemon milk tea just now, but you took so long to buy it. I don't want to drink it now. I still have to do my homework. You can leave. I don't have time for you." Wang Haoren still wanted to continue to challenge Qin Yunhan's patience, so his tone was extremely cold. This time, Qin Yunhan didn't have the slightest expression of anger. Instead, she remained silent. She silently lowered her head, turned around, and left. Vaguely, Wang Haoren heard some sobbing. He was momentarily stunned. Was this rich young lady's attitude so bad? She was actually crying at the same time. Ding! The host made one of the female leads, Qin Yunhan, sad and lost. Received 500 villain points. Qin Yunhan female, lead Halo -25, host villain Halo +25. The sudden system notification raised a big question mark above Wang Haoren's head. Breaking the female lead's heart actually gave a reward. This was truly an unexpected surprise. Qin Yunhan's attitude before was very bad. Wang Haoren was very bored, so he deliberately messed with Qin Yunhan's attitude to see her tolerance. He didn't expect to receive a reward because of this. And this reward wasn't low. This was a good way to earn rewards. But after thinking about it, Wang Haoren immediately dismissed this idea. This act of deliberately stabbing the female lead's heart was a bit too much. It was better to be happy and earn rewards. Wang Haoren took out his phone and prepared to write a message to comfort Qin Yunhan. But before he finished writing the message, Qin Yunhan sent a message first. "I know you're in a bad mood because of that illness. I should understand you. I promise I won't throw a tantrum in front of you anymore. Can you forgive me? Wang Haoran was a bit speechless. He wanted to comfort Qin Yunhan, but he didn't expect that Qin Yunhan would comfort him in turn. There was a lyrics that were really well written. Those who are favored have nothing to fear. Wang Haoran replied to Qin Yunhan's message, roughly saying that he was also in the wrong and that she shouldn't take it to heart. Qin Yunhan quickly said that it was okay and added a happy emoji. This matter was over just like that. Not long after, it was time for the evening's self-study session. Wang Haoran was wearing a wireless earpiece while studying. He borrowed Tang Bingyun's phone yesterday and took the opportunity to implant a listening virus in her phone. At this moment, Wang Haoran's earpiece was monitoring Tang Bingyun's movements. In the plot of The Soldier King, the female lead would often attract some danger. Because of Wang Haoran's drug, the plot had a lot of changes. Yang Wuxian was probably too busy to care about Tang Bingyun at this moment. It was very likely that he was not interested in caring about Tang Bingyun. But this did not mean that Tang Bingyun was not in danger. If he could save Tang Bingyun, then he would definitely gain a favorable impression of her. Currently, Tang Bingyun's favorable impression of him was 65. It only needed to increase by 5 points to reach 70. Once the favorability level reached 70 unswerving feelings, it would be a qualitative leap. At that time, it would be much easier to trick Tang Bingyun. Chapter 119. Around 7:30 p.m. At the headquarters of Tang's jewelry group, Tang Bingyun had just finished her work and was about to get off work. Lady Shun suddenly called her. Tang Bingyun was a little confused. Actually, she didn't have much contact with Lady Shun. They just met a few times and exchanged contact information. However, they didn't contact each other on the phone. Why did Lady Shun call her? Tang Bingyun picked up the phone and greeted Lady Shun politely. President Tang, I'm really sorry to disturb you. I want to buy a set of jade jewelry recently, so I'm calling you. Do you have time? After the greetings, Lady Shun also explained the purpose of the call. Tang Bingyun felt a little tired and wanted to go back to rest. She didn't want to entertain others, but she couldn't help but ask, Can I ask, Lady Shun, what's your budget? Of course, there was a reason for her to ask this. If Lady Shun didn't have a high budget for jade, she could go to the store tomorrow. In this way, Tang Bingyun wouldn't have to go through so much trouble. After Tang Bingyun's voice fell, Lady Shun paused for more than 10 seconds before she replied, The budget isn't very high. The budget isn't much. It's about 15 million. Hearing this, Tang Bingyun couldn't help but feel happy. She felt much less tired and immediately became energetic. The profits from buying jade wares were quite high, especially the expensive ones. If Lady Shun really spent 15 million yuan to buy jade, Tang Bingyun would earn at least 30% to 40%. Such a big business, of course Tang Bingyun was interested. I'm a little busy in the company, but since Lady Shun has asked, I have to spare some time no matter how busy I am. Tell me where to go. Tang Bingyun was delighted in her heart, but her voice was very calm. Even though she had nothing else to do, her words were very polite, giving Lady Shun enough face. Let's go to the beauty salon on the 3rd floor of the Grand Marriott. I've booked a room for a facial. The room number is 009, Lady Shun replied. Okay, Lady Shun. See you later. Wang Haoran monitored Tang Bingyun's movements. Naturally, he had heard the entire conversation between Tang Bingyun and Lady Shun. He felt that something was amiss. Last time, he had met Shun Kong and his wife at the hotel. Shun Kong was an old pervert. To be more precise, he was a very rich old pervert. He was a tool that had been slapped in the face. Wang Haoran was sure that Shun Kong definitely had feelings for Tang Bingyun. Although it seemed that Lady Shun had asked Tang Bingyun out, there was no guarantee that it was not Shun Kang's instruction. After sorting out these thoughts, Wang Haoran asked for leave and planned to go to the hotel. It didn't matter even if he didn't get anything. He had planned to sleep in the hotel today anyway. As a master of time management, of course, he cherished every minute and second. Not long after, Wang Haoran arrived at the beauty salon of the hotel. Most of the people in the beauty salon were women. There were a few men who came here for the beauty salon, but there were still some. Wang Haoran was closer, so he came faster. Room 009 of the beauty salon was still empty. She hadn't come yet. Just in time, he could do something in advance. After work, Tang Bingyun drove to the Grand Marriott without even changing out of her business attire. She came to the beauty salon on the third floor of the hotel and found a room that Lady Shun had mentioned. Lady Shun was sitting and waiting inside. Lady Shun, these are all top-grade high-end jade jewelry. There are many styles and shapes. Take a look and see which one you like. Tang Bingyun didn't waste any time. She directly took out the exhibition album of jade jewelry that she carried with her. However, Lady Shun didn't take the album. Instead, she sighed silently and apologized. Sorry, I lied to you. Tang Bingyun's hand that was holding the album froze slightly. She obviously felt that something was wrong with Lady Shun. Click! There was the sound of a door closing. Tang Bingyun turned around in panic. She saw that Shun Kong had sneaked in and closed the door. Tang Bingyun suddenly had a bad feeling, but she forced herself to calm down. Ah, Lady Shun, it's okay. It's okay that you changed your mind and didn't want to buy jade jewelry. It's not a lie. We're still friends. She pretended to look at the time and continued. I have something to do, so I'll leave first. Goodbye, Lady Shun. Goodbye, Mr. Shun. After that, Tang Bingyun slowly prepared to leave. Mr. Tang, you're already here. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? Shin Kong stood in front of Tang Bingyun and suddenly laughed. His small eyes narrowed so much that they were almost invisible. Mr. Shun, my assistant is still waiting for me outside. If I don't go out in 3 minutes, she'll be very anxious. Tang Bingyun said calmly. Don't try to be mysterious. I saw from the surveillance that you came alone. Shin Kong directly exposed Tang Bingyun's lie. Tang Bingyun's face changed slightly. She panicked and said, We're all respectable businessmen in Qingling City. I advise Mr. Shun not to fall into an irreversible situation because of a moment of impulse. Thank you for your reminder, Mr. Tang. That's why I set up a lot of surveillance cameras in this room. They'll definitely show Mr. Tang's beauty from many angles. If Mr. Tang cooperates, I'll definitely keep these records. If not, I'll definitely upload them to the internet for thousands of netizens to enjoy. Shin Kong said insidiously. Hearing that, Tang Bingyun was completely flustered. She could no longer calm down. She didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. If Shin Kong really wanted to mess around, how could she resist Shin Kong? Lady Shun, Tang Bingyun looked to the other side as if asking for help. Lady Shin sighed and turned her head to the side. Obviously, she was going to stand by and watch. Tang Bingyun suddenly felt a sense of despair. However, she would rather die than be humiliated like this. She glanced around and saw the glass on the table. Bang! Tang Bingyun directly broke the glass into pieces. She picked up a glass shard and put it to her throat. Her face was resolute. Shin Kong was shocked. Tang Bingyun's personality was too fierce. The situation was in a deadlock. Next door, Wang Howren had watched enough. He opened the door with the key he stole and made a grand entrance. Howren! Tang Bingyun was surprised and happy. I'm here. No one can touch you. Wang Howren walked over, grabbed the glass shard in Tang Bingyun's hand, and threw it away. He comforted her with words full of security. In this situation, of course, he would not spoof Tang Bingyun's mentality and deliberately called her anything. Instead, he lowered his voice to make it sound more steady and powerful. Although it was just a few simple words, they were full of boyfriend power. Tang Bingyun was suddenly very touched. At the same time, she was also happy and lucky to have survived the disaster. She couldn't control her emotions and hugged him tightly. Ding! Tang Bingyun, one of the female protagonists, has a favorability of the host increased by 10. The current favorability is 75, undying affection. Ding! The host has influenced the direction of the plot. The reward is 800 villain points. Yang Wuxian's protagonist aura -30. The host's villain aura +30. Ding! The host intercepted the protagonist Yang Wuxian and rescued the female protagonist Tang Bingyun. The reward is 300 villain points. Chapter 120. I didn't come here in vain. After receiving the system notification, Wang Howren was secretly delighted. Now, Tang Bingyun's favorability towards him had reached 75, which was a qualitative change. Next, he had to think of a way to trick her. Who are you? Shin Kong was very unhappy that his plan was ruined, so he asked Wang Haoran, "Well, my father is Wang Xiang, and my mother is Zhun Li." Wang Haoran introduced them casually. Shin Kang's eyelids twitched a few times when he heard that. Of course, he had heard of Wang Xiang and Zhun Li before. He had seen Wang Haoran once before, but he never thought that he was Wang Xiang and Zhun Li's son. The person in front of him was a super rich second generation. If he really wanted to be calculative, Shin Kang's capital was not as good as the Wang family. It seems that it's a misunderstanding. Sorry for the disturbance, President Tang. Shin Kong knew that this matter would not work, so he could only temporarily suppress his thoughts. After saying that, he was ready to leave. Bang! A sound was heard. It was Wang Haoran who had kicked the door and slammed it shut. "You want to leave after saying that? That's too easy. You don't take me seriously?" Wang Haoran looked arrogant. Shin Kong was afraid of Wang Haoran and Zhun Li, but he looked down on Wang Haoran from the bottom of his heart. Seeing Wang Haoran's attitude, he could not help but be angry. "Who do you think you are? How dare you point fingers at me?" Shin Kong. Slap. Before Shin Kong could finish his words, he was slapped in the face. "You little..." Shin Kong raised his hand and wanted to hit back. Slap. But just as his hand was raised in the air, he was slapped again. He was stunned. Wang Haoran had acted so quickly that he couldn't even react in time. "I'll give you a chance to reorganize your words," Wang Haoran said. "What do you want?" Shin Kong shook off the idea of fighting back. "That's more like it," Wang Haoran praised and then said, "The presidential suite of your hotel is pretty good. I come here often, and it costs 8,000 to 9,000 a night. It's a little expensive." Wang Haoran hinted. He had stayed here many times and would probably come here more often in the future. Now, there was such a good opportunity to blackmail Shin Kong. "I'll get someone to reserve a presidential suite for you. You'll be free of charge when you come here in the future," Shin Kong said. "Who are you looking down on? Even if I live here every day, I'll only earn a few million a year. You want to send me away with this amount of money?" Wang Haoran couldn't help but sneer. He really didn't care about a few million. "Then what do you mean?" Shin Kong frowned. "You're a big boss. Why don't you have any ability to understand?" Wang Haoran despised him. "You mean you want this hotel? You're too greedy." Shin Kong snorted. "Let me show you something." Wang Haoran took out his phone and showed him a surveillance video. Shin Kong was puzzled. He leaned over to take a look and found that the surveillance video was in the room where he was staying. He was shocked. Why would the surveillance video he set up here be sent to Wang Haoran's phone? What the hell? Wang Haoran had a surveillance video here, so the scene of him threatening Tang Bingyan must have been recorded. In other words, Wang Haoran had evidence of his crimes. After weighing the pros and cons, Shin Kong could only say, "Since you're interested in my hotel, I'll give it to you. I'm not a robber. Get straight. I'm buying your hotel, not asking you to give it to me," Wang Haoran emphasized. "Then how much do you want to buy it for?" Shin Kong felt a little comforted. It was better to sell it at a cheaper price than to give it to him for free. 1 yuan. Wang Haoran stretched out a finger. Shin Kang's face twitched a few times. This five-star hotel was valued at nearly 300 million, and the other party only spent 1 yuan to buy it. And the point was that he couldn't refuse. "I'll ask the lawyer to prepare the hotel transfer contract as soon as possible." Shin Kong was very aggrieved. "Mr. Shun, you're so generous." Wang Haoran applauded and praised him. He poured a cup of tea from the table and handed it to Shin Kong. "Have a cup of tea and calm down. This matter is written off." Shin Kong took the teacup and drank it in one gulp. He sold such a big hotel for 1 yuan. Why would he care about drinking another cup of tea? When Wang Haoran saw this, he secretly revealed a pitiful expression. The composition of Shin Kang's tea was the same as the tea that Yang Wuxian drank. "Damn woman, why are you still standing there? Let's go." After putting down the cup, Shin Kong shouted at Lady Shin angrily and took her out of the health center. Wang Haoran could easily poison Shin Kong to death without leaving any traces behind, given his supreme being level poison techniques. But Shin Kong still had some value. Wang Haoran planned to use Shin Kong to deal with Yang Wuxian. "Why are you here?" Tang Bingyan asked Wang Haoran in surprise. "My waist is a little uncomfortable, so I asked for leave and came to the health center to massage my waist. Wang Haoran casually made up a story. In fact, ever since he ate the Dragon Tiger Great Supplement pill, his waist was much better. Qin Yunhan, Wen Jing, and Fang Xian couldn't handle it and even begged for mercy. Is it serious? Let's go to the doctor. Tang Bingyan looked nervous. It's not a big problem. It's just that I have a heavy learning task and sat for a long time. I'll be fine after a massage. Wang Haoran explained. He didn't want Tang Bingyan to continue to be entangled in this issue, so he changed the topic. I helped you vent your anger. Are you happy? Yes, I'm in a much better mood. Tang Bingyun smiled easily. After Shin Kong prepares the contract, you can ask your lawyer to sign it and put it under your name. Just treat it as compensation for your mental trauma. Wang Haoran said politely. I can ask my lawyer to sign it, but it's better to put under your name. I'm not short of money. Tang Bingyun refused. Okay. Wang Haoran accepted it and then warned Tang Bingyun, you're too careless. You're too careless. How could you be tricked by Madame Shun? She said she wanted to buy a set of jadeware and had a budget of 15 million yuan. I thought that if I could make this deal, I could make a few million yuan. Of course, I came here. You're not short of money, are you? Do you care about a few million yuan? Wang Haoran joked. A few million yuan is not a small amount. Who would complain about having more money? Tang Bingyan looked like a little money grubber. Have you learned your lesson this time? Yes, I know. I won't come out alone to socialize again. As soon as Tang Bingyun finished speaking, her phone suddenly rang. She looked at the caller ID and saw that it was Tang Lao. Because of the engagement, Tang Bingyun was afraid to talk to her grandfather during this period. But she still picked up the phone. Bingyun, the medical report won't come out for a while. I've chosen an auspicious date for you and Guishan to get engaged first. Find a time to try on the wedding dress, Tang Lao said on the phone. Chapter 121. Tang Lao did not sound like he was discussing it with Tang Bingyun. Instead, he sounded like he had already made up his mind and was asking Tang Bingyun to do as he said. Tang Bingyun was, of course, very dissatisfied. Grandpa, I don't agree to this. I want to see the medical report first. I've already made up my mind. I'm doing this for your own good. Listen to Grandpa. The engagement is absolutely impossible unless I'm dead. Tang Bingyun's rebellious heart rose, and her tone was very determined. Cough, cough, cough. Tang Lao did not say anything, but there was a coughing sound coming from the other side of the phone. The coughing sounded like he was going to cough out his lungs. Grandpa, how are you? Tang Bingyun was very worried. Wang Haoran, however, secretly despised him. This must be another trick of Tang Lao's. However, this trick was really effective on the filial Tang Bingyun. The coughing sound on the phone stopped after a while. At this time, Tang Lao spoke again. Bingyun, I'm afraid that Grandpa won't live for long. I only hope that when I'm still alive, I can hold a great-grandchild. Then, Grandpa can die in peace. Tang Bingyun fell silent and did not say anything. Think about Grandpa's words. Tang Lao hung up the phone after he finished speaking. Tang Bingyun's eyes were in a trance. There was an obvious struggle on her pretty face. She looked like she was really considering Tang Lao's words. Wang Haoran saw this and suddenly had the idea of killing Tang Lao's head. This bad old man was too bad. He was obviously very healthy, but he pretended to be sick. He wanted to trick Tang Bingyun's sympathy so that Tang Bingyun would change her mind and marry someone else. However, this idea was dismissed by Wang Haoran in just a few seconds, because he suddenly had a better idea. Are you still thinking about what your grandfather said? Wang Haoran asked. Yes, Grandpa is indeed old. If he's always so angry, I'm really afraid of him. But I don't want to marry Yang Wishin. Tang Bingyun held her head in pain. You can think about it from another angle. I think your grandfather just wants to have a great-grandson. You can come up with a compromise. Wang Haoran found a loophole in Tang Lao's words and gave Tang Bingyun an idea. You mean? Tang Bingyun looked surprised. Do you have anyone you like? Wang Haoran asked, even though he already knew the answer. Hearing this, Tang Bingyun averted her gaze and then nodded. That'll do. You could be with the person you like and have a baby. This way, your grandfather will be satisfied, and you won't have to worry so much. Wang Haoran proposed a bold idea. Tang Bingyun was stunned by Wang Haoran's words. She shook her head shyly and said, This This won't do. The person I like anyway, it's not suitable for me to have a baby with him. It's not suitable. It's not suitable. Are you in love with a married man? Not really. Then what are you afraid of? Just confess if you like him. With your qualities, are you afraid that the man will like you? Wang Haoran took the opportunity to urge Tang Bingyun to confess. He received a lot of rewards when Su Muyin confessed last time. If Tang Bingyun took the initiative to confess, the rewards would definitely be generous. No, I can't do that. Tang Bingyun shook her head desperately. Seeing this, Wang Haoran sighed secretly. It seemed that it was not that easy to persuade Tang Bingyun to confess. After thinking about it, Wang Haoran could only add vinegar to provoke Tang Bingyun. Up to you. If there's no other way, you can marry Yang Wuxian. Tang Bingyun lowered her head slightly and fell silent again. No one knew what she was thinking. Wang Haoran did not say anything more. Anyway, he had said what he needed to say. It was up to Tang Bingyun to decide. After parting with Tang Bingyun, Wang Haoran anonymously posted a video. In a Bentley Mulsanne, the driver in front was driving quietly. Shen Kong and Lady Shun sat in the back seat. At this moment, Shen Kong was very angry. His head was about to burst into flames. Not only did he not take advantage of Tang Bingyun, but he also got slapped twice. He even gave away a 5-star hotel for nothing. What made him angry was that he had no choice but to endure such a loss. The Wang family had strong financial resources and connections, and Zhen Li's family was not weak either. Although Shen Kong owned a hotel chain, he was still far from being able to compete with the Wang family and the Jin family. Lady Shen knew that Shen Kong was angry, so she kept quiet and did not dare to say anything. However, Shen Kong did not have anywhere to vent his anger. Instead, he shouted at her. I've never asked you to help me like this. I didn't expect that today would be the first time I asked you for help. What bad luck. Can you blame me for this? I didn't disturb you. Lady Shen retorted, feeling wronged. You still dare talk back? Shen Kong was angry. He taught her how to behave in a minute and directly slapped her. Mrs. Shen covered her face with her hands and sobbed. I've been married to you for almost 8 years, and I've always been a woman. Except for the first 2 months when you were passionate to me, you ignore me the rest of the time. I've never blamed you for indulging in debauchery. Today, I even became an accomplice. Now, you're hitting me. If you want to use me as a punching bag, then continue to hit me. Hearing this, Shen Kong was a little embarrassed. He raised his hand and did not hit her. I was angry just now. I was impulsive. Shen Kang's tone softened a little, but he suddenly asked doubtfully, You really didn't go out behind my back? Of course not. Lady Shun responded in a positive tone, but she was secretly a little guilty. But speaking of which, she had only done it once. Compared to Shen Kang's excessive behavior, she was already considered very honest. That's good. Shen Kong was slightly relieved. Just as he finished speaking, his phone vibrated. He tapped on the screen, and the phone automatically played a video as if it had been poisoned. Shen Kong thought it was some kind of trashy advertisement, but after a few glances, his eyes were completely attracted. The video was captured by the corridor surveillance camera. The surveillance camera showed the real-time time. A man and a woman walked into a room and only came out the next day. Of course, this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that the woman was sitting next to him. The man looked a little familiar. He had even seen him once that day. Shen Kong only felt that there was something extra on his head. It felt especially heavy. Is this what you mean by being a woman? Shen Kong placed the video in front of Lady Shun. Lady Shun's body trembled, and her lips trembled. Hubby, let me explain. What else do you have to explain? Shen Kong was furious. He swung his arm and directly slapped her. He was tired of his wife, but he could not tolerate her cheating on him. Chapter 122. What's the man's name? Shen Kong questioned. I don't know. Lady Shun shook her head in panic. Bitch, you spent the night together, and you're telling me you don't know his name? Shen Kong was so angry that he laughed. I really don't know. Lady Shun was trembling with fear. Bitch, it's a random wild man. Just you wait. I'll deal with you after I find that person. Shen Kong ignored Lady Shun for the time being. Instead, he searched through his phone directory and dialed a number. The Wang family was rich and powerful. He couldn't afford to offend them. However, This unknown person dared to put a label on him. Of course, he couldn't swallow this insult. The call went through. Crow, how much is it to remove one leg? Shin Kong asked angrily. That depends on the left leg or the right leg. An unpleasant voice came from the other end of the phone. It sounded like a crow calling. It was especially ear-piercing. The third leg. 1 million. Deal, but I want to watch it live. No problem. Send me the information. There's only a screenshot of a full-body photo. Can you find the person? Of course. We're professionals. Wait for my call. Crow. Wong Howard muttered silently. In the video that he anonymously sent to Shin Kong, there was actually a monitoring virus mixed in. As long as Shin Kong allowed the video to play for 10 seconds, the monitoring virus would successfully infiltrate. After Shin Kong saw the video, Wong Howard heard the commotion on the other side. Judging from Shin Kang's words, it was obvious that he wanted to find this crow to remove Yang Wuxian's third leg. With Yang Wuxian's ability, if Crow and Shin Kong went there, they would most likely be dead meat. However, Wong Howard didn't care which side won, because he had other plans. However, to carry out this plan, he needed to know when and where Crow would make a move on Yang Wuxian. Got it. After thinking for a while, Wong Howard quickly thought of someone. He hailed a cab and headed straight to the Black Peony Bar. The bar's business was as good as ever. There were a lot of people in the hall, and the dance floor was even more chaotic. The air was filled with the pungent smell of alcohol, and the restless music was ringing in his ears. Wong Howard went to open a private room and asked the waitress from last time to pass on a message. Not long after, Zhuqiu Chenyu arrived at the private room. They had not seen each other for many days, but Zhuqiu Chenyu was still as enchanting as ever. Her every frown and smile was even more captivating. She was as beautiful as a fairy. Wong Howard really wanted to subdue demons. Unfortunately, this big sister female lead was too stubborn. Threats and promises had no effect on her. He could only slowly increase her favorability and then harvest her. Currently, however, Zhuqiu Chenyu's favorability towards him was only at 20. He was still far from being able to harvest it. How vexing. What do you want to drink? Zhuqiu Chenyu sat down next to Wong Howard and used the voice of a mature woman to ask. Wong Howard suddenly sniffed the fragrance coming from Zhuqiu Chenyu's body. He did not answer her question, but instead said the name of a famous foreign perfume, Imperial Majesty. You can actually tell what perfume a woman uses? Zhuqiu Chenyu looked at Wong Howard in surprise. I just happen to know. This perfume seems to cost 400,000. You really are willing to spend money. Wong Howard said meaningfully. The reason he knew was not because he studied perfume, but because Zhenli often used this perfume. After smelling a lot, he naturally became familiar with it. If you regret it, you could take the money back. Zhuqiu Chenyu pretended to be indifferent, but she was very guilty. This was because she had spent a lot of money to buy many skincare products and clothes to disguise herself. In less than 10 days, she had already spent half of the 10 million. Since I gave it to you, of course I won't take it back. You can use it however you want. Wong Howard waved his hand. He hoped that Zhuqiu Chenyu would spend the money and spend it extravagantly. Once Zhuqiu Chenyu got used to such a high level of spending, it would be hard to turn back. This was because it was easy to go from frugal to extravagant, but difficult to go from extravagant to frugal. When the money was spent, Zhuqiu Chenyu would have no choice but to rely on him. Putting away his thoughts, Wong Howard remembered the important matter and asked, Do you know a person named Crow? He is the leader of a new underground force in Qingling. When Zhuqiu Chenyu answered, she gritted her teeth. Do you have a grudge against him? Wong Howard could tell from Zhuqiu Chenyu's expression. When Crow first made his debut, in order to make a name for himself, he came to find trouble with me a few times. However, I was determined to become an official at that time, so I chose to endure it. However, I still haven't swallowed this grudge today. Recently, he received $1 million order to remove a person's third leg. Help me find someone to keep an eye on him. Let me know if there's any movement. You want to deal with him? Zhuqiu Chenyu was slightly startled, then said with a hint of mockery, Crow's influence is very big now, and he has many underlings under him. Even if you can fight a few dozen of them, can you fight a few hundred of them? Hearing this, Wang Haoren couldn't help but want to laugh. Wasn't this woman underestimating him too much? However, it was true. Xiao Qinyu felt that he could only fight a few dozen of them when he showed his strength last time. Why don't we make a bet? If I can take care of Crow's underlings, you will promise me one thing, and vice versa. Wang Haoren had learned this from Chu Bai. Let's make the stakes clear. If I win, I want my freedom. If you win, what do you want me to do? Xiao Qianyu was indeed an experienced person. She was still very cautious. She wasn't the kind of pure and naive female lead who would easily fall into his trap. If I win, you'll feed me a cup of wine. Wang Haoren proposed an appropriate bet. Xiao Qianyu, this big sister female lead, was too stubborn and very cautious. If he wanted to use a bet to reap her, the possibility of that happening was infinitely close to zero. However, reaping her was something that would happen sooner or later. However, from the current situation, it was clearly impossible. However, this seductress was too alluring. Wang Haoren pondered for a moment, then decided to first take some interest from Xiao Qinyu to satisfy his craving. Just feeding you a cup of wine? That's simple? Xiao Qinyu was somewhat astonished. If you say so, then I'll take it as you accepting the bet. I want you to say it more clearly. Wang Haoren stood up from the sofa, smiled faintly, and looked at Xiao Qianyu's fiery red lips. The next time I take the initiative to look for you, remember to wipe off your lipstick. I don't like the taste of lipstick. Xiao Qianyu watched as Wang Haoren left her field of vision, tacitly agreeing to the bet. Because of the stakes, Xiao Qianyu felt that it was worth a bet. If she won, then she would regain her freedom. And if she lost, although there would be a loss, it wasn't to the extent that she couldn't accept it. Chapter 123. It was a new day. Wang Haoren left the Grand Marriott, still in high spirits. At noon, he saw a call from Tang Bingyan. He had already thought about Tang Bingyan yesterday, and a day had passed. Did she think it through? Wang Haoren answered the phone with some expectations. What time do you finish your classes in the evening? Tang Bingyan asked on the phone. About 9:30, Wang Haoren replied, then continued to ask, I'm sorry. What's the matter? Nothing much. You've helped me during this time, so I want to treat you to dinner. It's a little late at 9:30. What do you think? Tang Bingyan explained the purpose of the call. Wang Haoren had to go to class, and she got off work very late. She could not spare much time during the day, so she could only choose this time. Auntie Tang, since you've asked, of course I'll do you the honor. After class at 9:30, he would rush to the restaurant. Including the time for dinner, it would probably be past 10 o'clock. Wang Haoren thought to himself, will there be any programs after dinner? Okay, I'll pick you up in person. Tang Bingyan deliberately mentioned this. I have a driver. I'll go by myself. Wang Haoren did not quite understand the meaning of Tang Bingyan's words, so he subconsciously refused. No, I'll come by myself. This will show more sincerity. Tang Bingyan insisted. Was it just sincerity? Wang Haoren certainly did not believe it. According to his guess, Tang Bingyan was afraid that the driver would tell others about the dinner. After all, Tang Bingyan and Zhun Li were usually peers. If the news that Tang Bingyan secretly had dinner with Wang Haoren so late at night spread to Zhun Li's ears, Tang Bingyan would definitely be embarrassed when she met Zhun Li in the future. Okay, come and pick me up. Wang Haoren agreed. Time passed quietly. Night fell. Unknowingly, it was already 9:30 in the evening. Tang Bingyan borrowed an Audi A3 from somewhere to pick him up. The reason why he thought it was borrowed was that Tang Bingyan was so rich. Wouldn't it be a joke if she drove an A3 that cost 200,000 to 300,000 yuan? It was obvious that the car was not hers. She did not want to attract attention since she did not drive. Wang Haoren was looking forward to it. He was really curious about what Tang Bingyan was planning. She was actually so sneaky about it. About 10 minutes later, Tang Bingyan arrived at an underground parking lot. After she parked the car, Tang Bingyan's S-car, and get out of Tang Bingyan. However, when it was time to get out of the car, she was still fully armed. She wore sunglasses and a hat, covering herself up tightly. Fortunately, the weather was hot. Otherwise, Wang Haoren estimated that she would have put on an extra scarf. Auntie Tang, Aren't you afraid that you won't be able to see the road if you wear sunglasses at night? Wang Haoran teased. My eyesight is good. I can see very clearly. Tang Bingyun's tone was firm. But as soon as she finished speaking, she almost crashed into the car parked next to her. Why don't you take off your sunglasses? Wang Haoran suggested. I'll wear them. Tang Bingyun insisted. They left the parking lot and took the elevator up. Soon, they arrived at a couple's restaurant. Wang Haoran suddenly understood why Tang Bingyun was so secretive. She was afraid of meeting someone she knew. Most of the customers in the restaurant were couples, and business was very good. There were also many couples in the restaurant's lounge area. It was already past 9:40 p.m. If it were any other restaurant, there would probably be no customers. However, there were many people in the couple's restaurant at this time. Tang Bingyun booked the most expensive suite in advance. When she arrived here with Wang Haoran, they did not need to wait at all. Under the guidance of a waiter, the two of them came to a luxurious suite. The suite was very large. It was divided into 2 floors. It had all the facilities one could think of. There was a place to eat, a place to take a bath, and a place to relax. Of course, there was also a place to sleep. Eating, relaxing, and sleeping. It was a one-stop service. Wang Haoran even took a look around. When he returned to the suite, he could not help but look at Tang Bingyun strangely. The food here is better, so I booked here. Don't think too much, Tang Bingyun said calmly. The food is better? Have you eaten here before? Wang Haoran asked. Of course not. I don't have a boyfriend. Why would I come to such a place to eat? I just heard it from my friends, Tang Bingyun explained. Wang Haoran said, oh, meaningfully, indicating that he understood. Tang Bingyun asked the waiter to bring the menu and let Wang Haoran order. The menu was full of names of dishes such as inseparable, flying wing to wing, happiness and bliss, harmony for 100 years, and so on. The so-called flying wing to wing was actually the double-flavored duck roll. Harmony for 100 years was celery and lily shrimp. Happiness and bliss was stewed sea cucumber and abalone. The names of these dishes were really ridiculous. The dishes themselves were not particularly eye-catching. If one had to point out something that stood out, it would be that they were expensive. Wang Haoran usually ate a lot of delicacies, so he did not have much appetite for the dishes in this restaurant. However, he still ordered 3 random dishes as a token. However, the total price of the 3 random dishes was 10,000 yuan. If it were an ordinary person paying the bill, it would probably be too much. However, it was the beautiful president who was treating today. Tang Bingyun did not even bat an eyelid at such a small amount of money. She even asked Wang Haoran to order more dishes. Wang Haoran refused and let Tang Bingyun order. Tang Bingyun also ordered a few random dishes. She also ordered a bottle of 1982 Lafite that cost 100,000 yuan. Just the bill for the meal was already 130,000 yuan. She was indeed a female president. She could actually spend so much money on a casual meal. Not long after, the dishes and red wine were served. There were ambience lights in the suite. The environment looked quite romantic. The two of them began to eat. Halfway through, Tang Bingyun seemed to have choked. Help me get a glass of water, she said after coughing a few times. Right away, Wang Haoran quickly poured a glass of water. Are you okay? I'm much better. Tang Bingyun drank some water and stopped coughing. She suddenly raised her glass of red wine. Haoran, thank you for helping me all this time. Come, let me toast you. Auntie Tang, you're too kind. Wang Haoran smiled at her, then raised his glass and clinked it with Tang Bingyun's. A crisp and pleasant sound of glasses clinking was heard. Wang Haoran was about to drink the remaining red wine, but he suddenly stopped when the glass was about to touch his mouth. There was something extra in the red wine. Wang Haoran looked up slightly and could not help but look at Tang Bingyun. It seemed that Tang Bingyun did not choke just now. Instead, she used an excuse to distract him and put something in her red wine. Why aren't you drinking? Tang Bingyun took a few sips of red wine. When she suddenly saw Wang Haoran's stunned action, a hint of nervousness flashed in her eyes. Yes, I'll drink. Wang Haoran smiled and drank the wine in his glass. With his understanding of the supreme poison scripture, he could tell that the thing added in the glass was not beneficial to the human body. Of course, it was not a strong poison. Moreover, With Tang Bingyun's affection for him, it was impossible for her to do something that would harm him. Could it be that the thing Tang Bingyun put in his red wine was that kind of Wang Haoran secretly guessed and then let the drug take effect? In less than 2 minutes, the drug took effect. Wang Haoran only felt dizzy, and at the same time, a wave of dizziness came over him. He could not help but be shocked, because his estimation seemed to be wrong. This was not the kind of aphrodisiac that would make a man lose control after taking it. It was a knockout drug. After that last thought, Wang Haoran lay on the table and lost consciousness. Chapter 124. When Wang Haoran regained consciousness again, he found himself lying on a large bed in a suite. He was covered in a white blanket, but the bedsheet under him was nowhere to be seen. It seemed that someone had deliberately taken it away. It was pitch black outside the window. Looking at the time, it was already 3 o'clock in the morning. There was no one else in the room except for him. Tang Bingyun was also gone. However, Wang Haoran found that there was a system notification message. Wang Haoran had received it while he was unconscious. The content of the message was frowny face congratulations to the host for being taken by one of the female leads, Tang Bingyun. Double reward triggered. Received 2,000 villain points, minus 100 protagonist aura from Swallow Guishan, minus 100 protagonist aura from Tang Bingyun, minus 100 protagonist aura from the host, and plus 200 villain aura from the host. This reward was really great. It had set a new high. However, Wang Haoran was not particularly happy. Firstly, he was unconscious the whole time. It was as if he had fallen asleep and then woken up. Secondly, he felt very aggrieved. He was a supervillain after all. Of course, he had to take the initiative to attack. However, he had fallen into the female lead's trap. This was simply embarrassing. Wang Haoran was depressed for a while. He could not help but secretly complain about Tang Bingyun. Why did you drug me? There was no interaction the whole time. Aren't you tired? Not only did you drug me, but you also left without saying a word. You didn't even say goodbye. What do you take me for? F***CK. During the afternoon break, Qin Yunhan was thinking about Wang Haoran. Taking advantage of the break, she called Wang Haoran to the flower garden to meet her. The flower garden was very quiet. It was filled with men and women, so it would not attract attention. What's wrong with you? Are you unhappy? Did I provoke you again? Qin Yunhan asked nervously when she saw that Wang Haoran was expressionless and seemed to be a little depressed. I was thinking about some problems in my studies, so I was a little absent-minded. I'm fine. Wang Haoran, of course, could not reveal the matter about Tang Bingyun, so he found an excuse. What school do you plan to go to? Qin Yunhan couldn't help but ask. Qingling University. Wang Haoran replied immediately. Qingling University wasn't one of the top 10 universities in the country, but it wasn't far off. With his grades, he could go to those top schools. However, he didn't want to be too far away from Qingling. The Wang family's power was mainly on Qingling's side. If he wanted to deal with the protagonist, he could use the Wang family's power. However, once he arrived in an unfamiliar city, he had no other connections other than money. There would definitely be a lot of inconveniences when doing things. Are you really going to choose Qingling University? Qin Yunhan asked happily. Yes. Wang Haoran nodded. Qin Yunhan stared at Wang Haoran in a daze. She felt a lump in her throat. She tilted her head slightly and leaned on his shoulder. Ding! The host has deeply touched the heart of the female lead, Qin Yunhan. Received 300 villain points. Wang Haoran was stunned. Qin Yunhan's voice sounded. I'm not very serious about my studies, so my grades aren't very good. There's no hope for me to go to those top universities. If it's Qingling University, I'm sure I can get in. As she spoke, she suddenly raised her watery eyes and looked at Wang Haoran. Are you really willing to give up the best university for me and choose Qingling University? Won't you regret it in the future? Wang Haoran was slightly stunned. The reason he chose Qingling University was not because of Qin Yunhan. Qin Yunhan was really good at imagining things. I've already thought about it. I'll choose Qingling University because I don't want to be separated from you, Wang Haoran said affectionately. Ding! The favorability of the female lead, Qin Yunhan, towards the host has increased by 5. Current favorability is 95. unchanging until death. Ding! The host has changed the direction of the plot. Received 200 villain points. Brother Howren. Qin Yunhan was so touched that she did not know what to say. She closed her eyes slightly and raised her beautiful face slightly. Anyone who saw her would be moved by her flirtatious and charming appearance. Wang Howren was about to lower his head and move his face forward to fulfill Qin Yunhan's little wish. However, his phone suddenly rang at an opportune time. I'm at the entrance of your university. Come out quickly. I'll take you somewhere. The person on the other end of the phone said. Oh, coming. Wang Howren hung up the phone. Who's looking for you? Qin Yunhan heard Wang Howren's voice on the phone and could not help but ask. A rich woman is looking for me. I have to go, Wang Howren replied. Ding. The host has made the female lead, Qin Yunhan, jealous. Received 100 villain points. Qin Yunhan frowned slightly. It seemed that she also wanted to go with Wang Howren. The rich woman is called Zhen Li. Are you sure you want to go with me? Wang Howren teased. Zhen Li, isn't that your mother? Qin Yunhan's worry turned into joy. She hurriedly waved her hand. You go, you go. I won't go. She now felt like an ugly daughter-in-law who was afraid to see her in-laws. She did not have the courage to go with Wang Howren. At the entrance of the university, the graceful Zhen Li was half leaning on a Ferrari. When she saw Wang Howren come out, she immediately praised him with a smile. My baby son has become more handsome. Where are you taking me? Wang Howren wanted to wait for news from Zhuqiu Qinyu. He was afraid that if he went too far with Zhen Li, he would not be able to watch the good show between Shun Kong and Yang Wishen. A top-notch cocktail party. Many business bigwigs will be there. I'll take you to show off and let everyone know who you are. Otherwise, when you meet them in the future, they will blindly offend you. Zhen Li said simply and rudely. I still have classes in the afternoon. Wang Howren was not very willing. It was quite pretentious for him to go as a super-rich second-generation heir. However, he felt that it was meaningless. It won't take up too much of your time. Hurry up and go to class. I'll send you back. Zhen Li dragged Wang Howren into the car. Not long after, Zhen Li brought Wang Howren to a large private luxury villa. There were many luxury cars parked outside the villa. It seemed that there were many people who came to attend the banquet. Zhen Li parked the car and brought Wang Howren into the villa. Some passers-by who knew Zhen Li nodded and bowed to greet her. Zhen Li took the opportunity to introduce her son. When these people heard her, they immediately praised Wang Howren. They said that he was talented, tall, handsome, and so on. Wang Xiang and Zhen Li were quite famous in the business world of Qingling. Wang Xiang's net worth was in the top 5 in Qingling. Zhen Li had a listed company, National Beauty and Heavenly Fragrance. Her net worth was not low either. She was in the top 3 of Qingling City's women's rich list. In addition, Zhen Li's family had a strong background. Zhen Li was still very popular. Other than a handful of business bigwigs, other people in the business world had to be polite when they saw her. Son, when you leave school in the future, if you have a conflict with someone, you don't have to hold it in. Just go all out and teach them a lesson. If anything happens, I'll help you. Zhen Li patiently taught him. Wang Howren listened and felt a little speechless. Fortunately, he was not a brainless villain. If he was a brainless person, he would have gone out to criticize Zhen Li after hearing her words. Then, he would have accidentally provoked a powerful protagonist. As he played, he would have played himself to death. Thinking of this, Wang Howren suddenly had an idea. There were so many important people in this banquet, and the scene was so big. Would there be a protagonist here? Chapter 125. A BMW X1 stopped outside the big villa. Compared to the surrounding luxury cars that cost millions, it looked particularly shabby. A middle-aged couple and a young and beautiful woman got out of the car. I don't know what sin I did in my previous life. I actually got such a useless son-in-law. I asked him to get a good car, but he got a broken BMW X1. He is really useless. The middle-aged woman complained with a mean face. We only gave him a few hundred yuan. It's good that he can rent a BMW X1. The middle-aged man interrupted. Don't mention this. I get angry when I mention it. Other people's son-in-law have an annual salary of 10 million yuan. They have villas and luxury cars. What about our family? He doesn't even have a job, and we have to pay. The middle-aged man spat and attacked, venting the resentment in his heart. He does housework and cook every day at home. He has no time to go out to work. The middle-aged man said, "You're also a waste. You lost money in business and sold the villa and the Porsche. Back then, I was also a great beauty. The people who chased after me could line up for a few streets. Why did I choose you?" The middle-aged woman was angry and scolded her husband. The middle-aged man was speechless. "Mom, you can say it at home. Now we are outside. Can you say a few words less?" The beautiful woman couldn't help but say, "You're also useless. Your mother gave birth to you so beautiful, and I was still hoping to find me a good son-in-law. You're good, and you found me such a useless son-in-law. I'm so angry." The middle-aged woman even blamed her daughter. "Mom, can you blame me? Did I want to marry him?" The beautiful woman was very aggrieved. Her eyes were almost full of tears. Although the middle-aged woman had a bad temper, when she saw the woman like this, she naturally couldn't bear to continue talking. She immediately closed her mouth. "It's my fault. It's all my fault." The middle-aged man's face was full of pain. He beat his chest with his hand. He lost money in business a year ago. He had a lot of debts. After discussing with his wife, he decided to find a fortune teller and to try to change his fate. The fortune teller said that he had a big disaster. The loss-making business had just started, and it would be more unlucky in the future. The couple was scared and quickly asked the fortune teller how to solve it. The fortune teller said that his daughter's fate was at odds with theirs. If they wanted to break the curse, they would need to find a son-in-law with a specific fate and marry their daughter. That would be the only way to break the curse. The two of them believed the fortune teller's words and followed the fortune teller's instructions to find a homeless man. Then, they forced their daughter to marry the homeless man despite her unwillingness. After they got married, there were fewer troubles at home. Although they didn't make much money, their lives gradually stabilized. But gradually, the middle-aged woman became dissatisfied with her son-in-law. Because this son-in-law was too useless. Other than doing housework and cooking, he was completely useless. His beautiful daughter was actually married to such a useless trash. It was simply like a fresh flower inserted into cow dung. "Dad, don't be like this." When the beautiful woman saw that her father was personally crippled, she quickly pulled him back. "Stop messing around. It wasn't easy to get an invitation to this kind of high-end cocktail party. We have to make good use of it. If we can get to know a noble, then our family might be able to make a comeback," the middle-aged woman said seriously. Her husband was now a contractor and had recruited a lot of people, but he hadn't received any projects yet. If they were lucky enough to get to know some people in related industries at the banquet and then contract a project, then there was hope for a comeback. The three of them came to the villa's hall. The hall was very large, almost as large as a hotel's auditorium. Look, that woman in a dress. The diamonds on her clothes are simply dazzling. She must be very rich. I'll quickly go over and get to know her. The middle-aged woman caught a glimpse of a rich woman holding a wine glass in front of her and suddenly said to her husband and daughter, "Hello, beautiful lady. Your clothes are really beautiful." The middle-aged woman walked forward and praised, trying to get closer to her. Zhenli was very shrewd. Just by smelling the perfume on the woman who spoke, she judged that she was a small character. Because the perfume smell was inferior, it must be cheap. It was estimated to be a few hundred yuan. People who used inferior perfume must be very poor. To deal with such people was simply lowering their status. "Go away. I don't like the perfume on your body." Zhenli waved her hand impatiently and made a shooing gesture. The middle-aged woman's face froze, feeling very awkward. "If you don't want to talk to us, just say it. Why do you have to belittle us?" The beautiful woman followed. Seeing that her mother was wronged, she said to Zhenli unhappily, "Do I need you to teach me how to speak? What's your name?" Zhenli snorted coldly. The middle-aged man also came over. Without waiting for his daughter to reply, he took over and said smoothly, "Boss, I'm sorry. My name is Yang Tai. This is my daughter, Yang Jingwan. This is my wife, Li Monli. We're really sorry for disturbing you. We'll leave now." After saying that, Yang Tai immediately prepared to leave with his wife and daughter. At this time, Wang Haoren returned from the bathroom. "Mom, these people are—" Wang Haoren looked at Zhen, Li, with a questioning gaze. They're just small fries. Don't worry about them, Zhenli said. Wang Haoran didn't reply. Instead, he subconsciously looked at Yang Jingwan. There was no other reason. He simply felt that Yang Jingwan was quite pretty. If a perfect score was 100, Yang Jingwan's temperament would be 95, her looks would be 96, and her figure would be 97. Overall, she was a beauty with an average score of 96. Zhenli saw her son looking at Yang Jingwan, so she called out to the family that was about to leave. Wait a moment. Boss, is there anything else? Yang Tai turned around and asked curiously. Come here. My son wants to get to know you. Zhenli ignored Yang Tai and pointed at Yang Jingwan. Wang Haoran looked away from Yang Jingwan and looked at Zhenli speechlessly. Zhenli winked at Wang Haoran as if to say, Son, don't thank me. This is what a mother should do. Zhenli turned around and looked at Yang Jingwan again. Seeing that she hadn't moved, Zhenli immediately urged her. I told you to come here. Didn't you hear me? Yang Jingwan couldn't help but look at Wang Haoran. His handsome face gave off a good impression. However, she was a woman who knew her place, so she said straightforwardly, I'm already married. Such a beautiful and young woman was actually someone else's wife. What a pity. Wang Haoran sighed to himself and felt a sense of regret that a normal man would have. Immediately, his interest in Yang Jingwan greatly decreased. When he saw how beautiful Yang Jingwan was, he originally suspected that she was the female lead. But she was already married. Could she still be the female lead? Yang Jingwan wasn't the stereotype of an iceberg CEO. She was already married at the beginning of the movie. Apart from an iceberg CEO novel, was there any other female lead like her? Wait, there really was one. Wang Haoran suddenly thought of a cliché novel. Chapter 126. Wife, you're here. An ordinary-looking young man walked over and said to Yang Jingwan. Hearing the way the man addressed her, Yang Jingwan frowned. Helplessness and resistance appeared on her face. She didn't have any feelings for the man who called her wife. Although the two had been married for almost a year, Yang Jingwan had always slept separately from him. They hadn't even held hands. Therefore, when she saw the other party greet her, Yang Jingwan remained silent and didn't reply. Li Monli couldn't hold it in anymore and said angrily, Su Lang, why did a piece of trash like you come with us? How can you come to such a high-end banquet? Go back. I didn't come with you. Someone invited me, Su Lang said. You really don't even know how to lie. You're a house husband. Other than cooking, you don't know anything else. Who would invite you here? What a joke. Li Monli's face was full of disdain. Su Lang, go back. Yang Tai also felt that this son-in-law was embarrassing and wanted to chase him away. Su Lang, go back. Yang Jingwan couldn't help but say, if I leave, this banquet won't be able to continue. Su Lang looked up at a 45-degree angle and said pretentiously, Yang Tai, Li Monli, and Yang Jingwan all felt that this person's brain was fried. Otherwise, he would never say such a thing. However, Wang Haoran believed him. Wasn't Yang Jingwan's family the standard model of a married son-in-law? This Su Lang was definitely a main character. However, there are many types of main characters. There were those who drank their wife's foot-washing water at the start, and then slowly turned things around after a fortuitous encounter. There was the only heir of a large financial group who had to train for 3 years because of some bullsh**T family rules. Then, by chance, he became a married son-in-law. Then, when the 3 years were up, he started to crazily show off. There was also the return of the god of war. For a meal or a piece of candy back then, he was willing to become a married son-in-law. There were strong and weak characters among these married son-in-law protagonists. Even if they had a fortuitous encounter, they still needed time to develop. They were very weak in the early stages. This kind of character was the easiest to deal with. Next was the heir of the financial group, who had huge wealth and connections. This kind of problem wasn't too big because there was a flaw in having so much money, and that was that their combat strength was low. The most troublesome one was the main character of the war god. This kind of protagonist strength was very high. At this moment, Su Lang was in front of him. If he wanted to know what kind of person he was, it was very simple. Wang Haoran secretly communicated with the system and instructed the system to use 100 villain points to inquire. However, he was rejected by the system with a prompt. Investigating will cost 200 villain points. What the F asterisk CK? Why did the price increase? Could it be that the main character was especially attractive? Wong Howren currently had a lot of villain points, so he naturally didn't care about these 200 villain points. Protagonist: Su Lang. Combat power 1000, charm 125, protagonist aura 999. Skills: Wrath of the God of War, increase combat power by 20% when enraged. Might of the God of War, active release, temporarily increase charm by 300%. Invincible God of War, passive skill, the moment you receive a lethal strike. You can enter an invincible state for 1 hour and activate one-shot mode. You can kill anyone in your way. Cooldown, 12 hours. Compared to Wong Howren, 1000 combat power was 99 points lower. The protagonist aura was 999, which was a few hundred lower than Wong Howren's. Wong Howren could completely accept these. Putting aside Wrath of the God of War and Might of the God of War, wasn't the Invincible God of War skill a bit too much? The moment he received a lethal strike, he could enter an invincible state for 1 hour and activate one-shot mode. How the F asterisk CK was he going to play? This God of War type protagonist was too shameless. No wonder it cost 200 villain points to inquire about his information. There was a reason why it was expensive. But fortunately, his Invincible God of War skill was a passive skill, and the cooldown was not short. If he planned it well, there is still a great chance to take care of him. If you leave, this banquet can't be held. I think you've lost your mind from cooking every day. Li Monli was not used to Su Lang's boasting and immediately attacked him. You don't believe me? Su Lang asked. I don't believe you. Li Monli curled her lips. Su Lang put his hands behind his back and smiled indifferently. You piece of trash. Mom, forget it. There are too many people here. Don't make a fuss. Don't let others see us as a joke. Seeing that some people around them were looking in their direction, Yang Jingwan quickly spoke up to stop Li Monli. I'll deal with him when we get home. Li Monli did not continue to argue, but stared coldly at Su Lang. Soon, the family walked away. Li Monli came here with a purpose, so of course, she would not just stand there stupidly. Mom, who organized this banquet? Seeing that Yang Jingwan's family had left, Wong Howren immediately asked Zhen Li. Ma Hongsheng, the richest man in Qingling, and also the president of the Qingling Chamber of Commerce. If you see him later, you have to be polite. It's not good for our family to offend this person. Zhen Li changed her arrogant tone and reminded him seriously. Wong Howren nodded and began to think. From Su Lang's words, this Ma Hongsheng probably organized this banquet for Su Lang. Otherwise, Su Lang would not have said that without him, the banquet would not be able to continue. If Ma Hongsheng appeared and treated Su Lang with respect, Yang Jingwan's family would definitely be shocked. Su Lang would not only be able to show off, but he would also gain the favor of Yang Jingwan's family. This must be stopped. Mom, where's this Ma Hongsheng? Wong Howren immediately asked Zhen Li. I don't think he's here yet. If he's here, he'll definitely be surrounded by people. Zhen Li glanced around the hall and replied, Mom, I think I left my phone in your car. I'll go get it. Wong Howren wanted to find an excuse to leave. Oh, here you go. Zhen Li handed over the Ferrari key. Wong Howren took the key and immediately went to the parking lot outside the mansion. He opened the door and walked into the Ferrari. He observed the cars coming to the mansion and at the same time used his phone to search for information about Ma Hongsheng online. About 8 minutes later, 5 cars lined up in a row and drove over. Out of the 5 cars, 4 were Mercedes-Benz Maybachs and 1 was a custom-made Rolls-Royce Phantom. There were 2 Maybachs in front and 2 Maybachs in front and the Rolls-Royce Phantom in the middle. Wong Howren immediately used his X-ray vision to look and found that there were strong men in suits sitting in the 4 Maybachs. They looked like bodyguards. In the Rolls-Royce Phantom, there was a short and unattractive middle-aged man. Looking at the man's appearance, Wong Howren immediately recognized that it was Ma Hongsheng. No wonder he was the richest man in Qingling. He had brought nearly 20 bodyguards with him, and the bodyguards were even in Maybachs. He was really rich. Chapter 127. Wang Howren's original plan was to poison Ma Hongsheng before he entered the villa, so he wouldn't be able to attend the banquet. However, he didn't expect Ma Hongsheng to have so many bodyguards around him, so it wasn't convenient for Wang Howren to approach him. If Ma Hongsheng suddenly fainted, then everyone's attention would be on Wang Howren. This wasn't what Wang Howren wanted to see. He had no choice but to change his plan and act in the living room of the villa. There were a lot of people there. If something happened to Ma Hongsheng, he wouldn't know who to look for. After returning to the living room of the villa, Wang Howren scanned his surroundings and searched for Su Lang and Yang Jingwan's family. All he saw was Su Lang sitting on a stool with an arrogant expression on his face. He was holding a glass of red wine and sipping it. Meanwhile, Yang Jingwan's family was shuttling through the living room, trying to make some connections. However, this family was met with a wall everywhere. These rich people weren't idiots. They could tell that Yang Jingwan's family had no money or power, so they had no intention of befriending them. Sigh. It seems like we came here for nothing. Yang Tai sighed deeply. I'm so angry. I'm so angry. What kind of people are these? They all act like they're superior to others. Puffed. Li Monli was clearly impatient. Mom, don't complain. Our family has no money or power. It's normal that they don't want to befriend us. There's no need to be angry. You might hurt your body, Yang Jingwan comforted. While Yang Jingwan's family was talking, Su Lang suddenly walked over. Dad, Mom, Wifey, I told you a long time ago that no one would care about you. Do you believe me now? Su Lang was originally with Yang Jingwan's family, but he kept trying to persuade them not to waste their time. Li Monli was angry, so she chased him away. You piece of trash. It's fine if you don't want to help, but you're still making sarcastic remarks. Get out of my sight. The further, the better, Li Monli complained. Su Lang smiled faintly and didn't take it to heart. He stood in place and didn't move. Hurry up and leave. Can't you see that your mother is really angry? Yang Tai was also annoyed by his son-in-law. Young Su, you should leave, Yang Jingwan said with a frown. Wife, you came here just to strengthen your connections and get a project done. Leave this matter to me. I will take care of it. Su Lang said proudly. Yang Jingwan shook her head. She hated Su Lang the most. Apart from cooking and doing housework, he didn't know anything else, but he pretended to be able to eat anywhere. She couldn't even be bothered to complain. However, Li Monli couldn't help but spit at Su Lang. How can a piece of trash like you settle this? Who do you think you are? Don't tell me you know Ma Hongsheng. I do know him. Su Lang smiled and nodded. You're crazy. Li Monli shook her head. Boss Ma is here. Boss Ma is here. There was a commotion at the entrance of the hall. The corners of Su Lang's mouth lifted slightly. They finally came. He had been waiting for a long time. Ma Hongsheng brought a lot of bodyguards with him, but there were too many people in the hall, so he didn't bring all of them in. Instead, he only brought 2 of his best bodyguards with him. The other bodyguards were on standby at the door. As soon as Ma Hongsheng arrived at the entrance of the hall, many rich people flocked over to greet him. The rich people were also divided into different levels. There were those with tens of millions of assets, hundreds of millions of assets, billions of assets, tens of billions, and even hundreds of billions. Every time he advanced a level, the level would be completely different. Ma Hongsheng belonged to the top rich people with hundreds of billions of assets. Naturally, he was especially respected. Faced with everyone's enthusiasm, Ma Hongsheng responded to them with a smile. However, there were too many people coming over to greet him. He couldn't even get away for a while. Didn't you brag that you knew Ma Hongsheng? Then how are you going to greet him? Li Monli sneered at Su Lang. I don't need to go over. He will take the initiative to greet me. Su Lang raised his head proudly. I really should take you to a mental hospital. Look at how bad your brain is. Li Monli curled her lips. Sigh. Our family is unfortunate. Yang Tai saw Su Lang's appearance and sighed deeply. Yang Jingwan didn't say anything, but her face was filled with self-pity. She lamented that she had a hard life. Su Lang took in the expressions of these people and didn't take it to heart at all, because in a while, when Ma Hongsheng came over to greet him, everything would be reversed. Su Lang had a proud smile on his face as he drank his red wine and waited quietly. President Ma? President Ma, what's wrong? President Ma fainted. Hurry and take President Ma to the hospital. Hurry! There was a sudden burst of panicked shouts from the entrance of the hall. A group of bodyguards immediately lifted Ma Hongxing up and ran out of the mansion. Obviously, they wanted to take Ma Hongxing to the hospital immediately. Su Lang, who was waiting to show off, saw this scene and couldn't help but freeze. Ding! The host destroyed the protagonist Su Lang's chance to show off. The reward is 300 villain points. Su Lang's protagonist aura -15. The host's villain aura +15. Wang Haoran received a notification from the system. Of course, Ma Hongxing didn't faint by accident. He just mixed in with the rich people who greeted Ma Hongxing and secretly did something to Ma Hongxing. Since Su Lang couldn't see Ma Hongxing, Su Lang naturally didn't have a chance to show off. With Ma Hongxing's departure, the rich people in the hall seemed to be a little dispirited, and some of them left one after another. "We came here for nothing. We're leaving too," Li Monli said to the family next to her dejectedly. "Mom, I'll go talk to Ma Hongxing and ask him to introduce some people. When the time comes, we'll definitely be able to get a project for Dad," Su Lang said. You're still talking. Hurry up and shut up. Who do you think you are? How could a tycoon like Ma Hongxing know you?" Li Monli was already holding back her anger. When she heard Su Lang still talking, she was extremely annoyed. "I don't have to lie. I really didn't know Ma Hongxing," Su Lang insisted. "Then hurry up and call Ma Hongxing to me. Right now. Li Monli said, "I'll go to the hospital right now. If Ma Hongxing is fine, I'll definitely bring him to you." After Su Lang finished speaking, he immediately turned and left. It seemed that he really did plan to go to the hospital to find Ma Hongxing. Yang Jingwan and her family thought he was crazy, so they couldn't be bothered with him. They also prepared to leave. At that moment, Wang Haoran suddenly walked over. "Young master, is there anything I can help you with?" Li Monli asked with a humble smile. "Just a small matter," Wang Haoran responded to Li Monli. He then smiled at Yang Jingwan. "Can I borrow your phone for a moment?" Yang Jingwan was very dissatisfied with Zhang Li's condescending attitude, but Wang Haoran was pleasant and handsome, so it was hard to dislike him. "Sure." Yang Jingwan handed her phone to Wang Haoran. Chapter 128. Wang Haoran took Yang Jingwan's phone, opened the touchscreen interface, and dialed a number. Soon, Wang Haoran's phone vibrated. Yang Jingwan froze. She thought Wang Haoran's phone had run out of battery, and he wanted to borrow her phone to make a call. It turned out that he wanted to exchange numbers with her. "Sorry, I'm already married." Yang Jingwan thought that Wang Haoran was trying to hit on her because he didn't hear what she said before, so she repeated herself. "Don't be nervous. I just want to be friends with you." "I don't mean anything else," said Wang Haoran. "You really don't mean anything else?" Yang Jingwan was skeptical. "Hey, Jingwan, what's wrong with you? It's your honor that this young master is willing to be friends with you. Why do you look so reluctant?" Li Monli reprimanded her daughter and asked enthusiastically, "Young master, may I know your name?" "Wang Haoran." "So, it's young Master Wang, the famous President Wang of the Wang Corporation. Do you know him?" Li Monli couldn't help but ask. "That's my father." Li Monli was so shocked that her eyeballs almost fell out. The young master in front of her was actually the heir of the Wang Corporation. If she could become friends with the heir of the Wang Corporation, wouldn't she soar into the sky? But on second thought, Li Monli felt a little dejected. Her daughter was married. How great would it be if she wasn't? Wang Haoran continued to operate the phone for a while and planted a listening virus. He then handed it back to Yang Jingwan. "Thank you. Here's your phone." "You're welcome. It's nothing," replied Yang Jingwan politely. "Now that we are friends, if you need any help, you can come to me. I will definitely help you." Wang Haoran looked deeply into Yang Jingwan's eyes and took the opportunity to look at her with his flirtatious eyes. Yang Jingwan didn't dare to look into Wang Haoran's eyes, so she quickly looked away. Wang Haoran smiled amusedly and returned to Zhang Li's side. "Mom, I'm going back. Let's go." "My precious son, that woman called Yang Jingwan is already married. Don't tell me you still have feelings for her?" Zhang Li asked with narrowed eyes. "Don't talk nonsense. I'm just going to borrow her phone," Wang Haoran said seriously. "Are you deliberately flirting with me when I'm borrowing your phone?" Zhang Li was very shrewd. Wang Haoran didn't know how to reply. "My dear son, I'm not blaming you. As the saying goes, a young girl is good, and a young woman is wonderful. Son, you really have good taste. Zhenli whispered in his ear. Hearing this, Wang Haoran, who was walking normally, almost stumbled. This weird mother of his was really too much. He actually didn't think too much about it. He just wanted to get close to Yang Jingwan and plan a monitoring virus on her phone to deal with Su Lei. Who would have thought that Zhenli had imagined so much? But then again, although Yang Jingwan was married, she wasn't necessarily a young woman. In novels about married couples, the female lead was almost always a virgin. She couldn't be any more innocent. In fact, she might not even have held hands with the main character. As the story progressed normally, the female lead would only change her opinion of the main character in the middle or later stages of the story. Then, she would fall in love with the main character and become his wife. Judging from Yang Jingwan's attitude towards Su Lang, the story had clearly just begun. In other words, although Yang Jingwan was married, she was still a blank piece of paper. Jingwan, it seems that young Master Wang has taken a liking to you. You're in luck, Li Monli said excitedly to her daughter after she saw Wang Haoran leave. Yang Jingwan wasn't happy at all. Instead, she felt a little strange and uncomfortable. She took out her phone and found the number that Wang Haoran had just dialed. She wanted to delete it. Are you crazy? Stop. Li Monli immediately stopped Yang Jingwan's actions. Mom, I think you're the crazy one. I'm not single. Do you think it's appropriate for me to keep his number? Yang Jingwan asked. What's the difference between you and being single? Look at Su Lang. He's a complete piece of trash. Do you want to spend the rest of your life with him? I think you should find a chance to divorce him. Li Monli said angrily as soon as Su Lang was mentioned. I've been thinking about this too. Jingwan is young and pretty. She can't spend the rest of her life with Su Lang. Yang Tai couldn't help but interject. Don't you guys believe in the fortune teller? If I really divorce him, aren't you afraid? Yang Jingwan asked sarcastically. Back then, Yang Tai and Li Monli brought a homeless man to her. They didn't care if she was willing or not, and directly forced her to marry him. This incident was still a thorn in Yang Jingwan's heart to this day. Hearing her daughter's words, Li Monli didn't dare to talk about divorce anymore. If they really divorced and Yang Tai's business failed again, what would they do? But on second thought, were they going to continue like this? That Su Lang was a complete piece of trash. He was completely useless. Jingwan, let's put the divorce on hold for now, but you should still contact young Master Wang. This is a great opportunity. You can't miss it. Li Monli thought of a way to compromise. Mom, what do you take me for? Yang Jingwan was stunned by her mother's thoughts. Although she kept a distance from Su Lang, they were still married in name. She felt an inexplicable sense of guilt when she was asked to come into contact with another man. It would make her feel like a bad woman. Yang Jingwan didn't want to argue with Li Monli anymore, so she walked out first. Li Monli and Yang Tai quickly chased after her. Yang Wishin was caught by Crow's people. Wang Haoran was just about to enter the school when he suddenly received a call from Zhuqiu Qinyu. Did Crow use drugs, or did they ambush him? They actually caught the king of soldiers. Or did Yang Wishin pretend to be caught? But no matter what it was, there would definitely be a good show to watch. Where did they take him? Wang Haoran immediately asked. Crow's underlings got Yang Wishin into a car. I don't know where they're going, but my people are following them, Zhuqiu Qinyu said over the phone. Tell your people to send me their location. You plan to go personally? I advise you to forget about it. Crow has a lot of people who can fight. If they find you, you'll be in trouble. Are you worried about me? My life is in your hands. If you die, won't I die with you? And go burn some incense and pray that everything goes well. Otherwise, we may meet at the bridge of helplessness, Wang Haoran teased. You're really not afraid of death? Zhuqiu Qinyu's voice was a little impatient. For a kiss from a beauty, it's worth the risk, Wang Haoran laughed. I'll send some underlings who can fight to follow you. Zhuqiu Qinyu was not in the mood to joke and said seriously. I'll go alone. Wang Haoran was afraid that he would not be able to make it in time for a good show, so he immediately said, I'll go alone. I want your location in 1 minute. Bang! There was a loud noise from the other end of the phone. It seemed that Zhuqiu Qinyu was so angry that she smashed the things around her. But although she was angry, she still obediently told her underlings to send their location to Wang Haoren. After receiving the location, Wang Haoren immediately called a taxi and chased after her. Not long after, he followed her to a hidden factory in the suburbs. There were guards and surveillance cameras outside the factory, but for Wang Haoren, they were useless. Wang Haoren used his X-ray vision to see the distribution of people and surveillance cameras inside, and quickly found the best infiltration point. Chapter 129. A van drove into a factory building. A few muscular young men with tattooed arms got out of the van and took out a breathable sack from the trunk. "Boss, he's here," one of the young men with tattooed arms said to a tall man who had been waiting in the factory for a long time. The man who was called boss by the young men was tall, almost 9 meters tall. He had long hair and exuded a ruffian aura. "Well done," Crow praised the young man with his signature unpleasant voice. Then he turned to a middle-aged man with small eyes and said, "Mr. Shun, I've brought him here. You should pay the balance, right? Do you think I'm short of your money? Let me see him first. I want to test him." Shin Kong said, "You're right." Crow pointed to the young man and commanded, "Open the sack and let the boss see him." A few of his lackeys immediately got to work and untied the rope that tied the gunny sack. The unconscious Yang Wuxian soon appeared in everyone's sight. Shin Kong pulled the pale Lady Shun to Yang Wuxian's side to confirm, "Bitch, is it him?" "Yes, it's him." Madam Shin nodded in trepidation. "Bitch, you really know how to pick people. This man looks strong. You must be enjoying it, right?" Shin Kong asked while gritting his teeth. Lady Shin didn't dare to say a word. She lowered her head and didn't even dare to breathe. "Why is he unconscious? Wake him up. I want to deal with him while he's awake. Only then can I vent my anger," Shin Kong said to Crow's men angrily. Crow's young men immediately found a bottle and poured some medicine into it, and what a piece of cloth. They used some drugs to make the target quiet down. In order to wake him up, they needed to stimulate him with some chemicals. One of the young men took a piece of cloth and walked towards the unconscious Yang Wuxian. Before he could do anything, Yang Wuxian suddenly opened his eyes. "Ah!" The young man was shocked and staggered back. Meanwhile, in a place where no one could see, someone had snuck in and was staring at them with a pair of eyes. So, the Soldier King was pretending to be captured. I was wondering why the Soldier King would fall into the hands of a minor character so easily. Wang Haoren thought to himself as he continued to observe. Yang Wuxian stood up from the ground and scanned the surroundings with a sneer. He thought that it was an enemy he had made abroad, so he pretended to be caught and came over to see who was behind it. Who would have thought that when he took a closer look, he realized that they were just a bunch of small fries. There were about 20 people around, but in Yang Wuxian's eyes, they were no different from ants. "Useless things. You're really embarrassing me. He's just one person. Don't tell me you're scared of him." Crow was extremely arrogant. Seeing that her little brother was frightened, she kicked him and scolded him. "Crow, hurry up and get your men to capture him. Then chop off his plaything for me." Shin Kong glared at Yin Gue Shan, his eyes burning with rage. "Don't worry, Mr. Shun. He won't be able to escape." Crow responded and then made a gesture to one of his top fighters. In his opinion, Yang Wuxian was just one person. He had already thought highly of him by sending one of his men to deal with him. However, after a few seconds, Crow was stunned. His top fighter was directly KO'd by Yang Wuxian with one punch. He was lying on the ground for a long time and could not stand up. "Go, all of you go." Crow was a little panicked and shouted to his men around him. There were sounds of fighting in the factory. In less than 2 minutes, more than 20 men were all lying on the ground. They either had broken legs or arms. Screams of agony filled the huge factory. Factory number one, come quickly." Crow took a communicator from one of the men who was guarding the factory and shouted a few times into the communicator. Yang Wuxian did not stop Crow and let him call for help. These few days, he was in a very bad mood because of a sudden failure in a certain aspect. He had placed all his hopes on Smith, who knew that this bastard would run away with his team. Yang Wuxian's mood was extremely bad. Therefore, he wanted to vent his anger. However, the 20 men on the ground were not enough. Crow wanted to call for help. This was exactly what Yang Wuxian wanted. After a while, there were sounds of hurried footsteps. Crow's men rushed into factory number 1 with steel pipes, sticks, and knives. There were a total of 70 to 80 people, and there were still people coming over. Fortunately, the factory was big enough. Otherwise, the house would have been broken. Yin Guishan rushed into the crowd with his bare hands, barging his way through the crowd. Everywhere he went, there were screams. He was like a wolf that rushed into a flock of sheep. It was simply unstoppable. In less than 10 minutes, the ground was full of people. Are there any more? Continue to shout. Yang Wuxian felt that it was not enough. Therefore, he said to Crow. Crow's bronze face was as pale as a sheet of white paper. This Yang Wuxian was more difficult to deal with than he expected. His 100 or so underlings were no match for him, even when they swarmed him. This person was too scary. Crow, where are your men? Hurry up and call for help. Shen Kang's face was also very ugly. He urged Crow. Crow's face was wrinkled like a bitter gourd. Although he claimed to have hundreds of men, in reality, there were a lot of newbies who had not been fully trained. After removing the water, almost all of his men were here. There were only about 100 of them. Now, they were all defeated by Yang Wuxian alone. Each and every one of them had either broken legs or broken arms. Almost all of them were crippled. Soldier King is awesome. Wang Haoran secretly observed this scene. He could not help but secretly applaud. He and Zhuqiu Chenyu made a bet that they would destroy Crow's territory. Now, he did not even need to do anything. Yang Wuxian directly did it for him, because Yang Wuxian was quite heavy-handed. He broke the hands and feet of Crow's men like lotus roots. Not to mention whether they could be completely cured. Even if they could be cured, they would need a long time to recover. Crow was left without followers. Crow was quite arrogant. He must have offended a lot of people. As long as the news of Crow's men being destroyed spread, there would be a lot of people coming to settle the score with him. Wang Haoran refocused his attention on Yang Wuxian. Crow's side could not make any waves. This Swallow Mountain guy sure had a lot of fun pretending to be cool. He must be punished. Wang Haoran took out a few needles and quietly approached Yang Wuxian. Chapter 130. I see that you're quite tall. Since you can't call your underlings, you can do it yourself. Yang Wuxian said to Crow. Big bro, I was wrong. We have no grudges. I was just doing my job for money. Every debt has its debtor. Crow said with a sad face. Compared to ordinary people, he was quite good at fighting. One person could take on 10 or 20 people. But this Yang Wuxian in front of him was not an ordinary person. Crow did not even have the courage to fight him, because the two of them were not even on the same level. Trash, how can you be the boss? Yang Wuxian spat. He ignored Crow and looked at Shen Kong. What did you say you were going to do to me? Misunderstanding. This is all a misunderstanding. I like my wife, right? I'll give her to you. You can use her however you want. I have no objections. I sincerely wish you both happiness. Shen Kong saw that Crow could not do anything to Yang Wuxian. He cursed at Crow in his heart, and then admitted defeat to Yang Wuxian. He was already sick of his wife. Seeing the situation, he decided to sell his wife to protect himself. As for being labeled as a criminal, he could only endure it. When Yang Wuxian heard Shen Kang's words, his anger did not subside. He was not a real man now. So when he heard Shen Kong give Lady Shen away, he was furious. Yang Wuxian's heart was filled with anger. He picked up a knife from the ground and walked towards Shen Kong. Soon, Shen Kang's blood-curdling screams could be heard. Yang Wuxian vented his anger and felt much better. He then walked towards Crow. But at this moment, a few needles flew out from the shadows. Yang Wuxian reacted quickly and dodged many of the attacks. However, he was still stabbed in the back of his hand by one of the needles. He immediately pulled the needle out and wanted to chase in the shadows to find the person who stabbed him. However, as soon as he lifted his leg, he lost all his strength and knelt on the ground. There's poison on the needle. Yang Wuxian's expression changed. Ding! The host has successfully poisoned the main character Yang Wuxian, causing him to temporarily lose the ability to fight. The host has received 300 villain points. Yang Wuxian's main character aura -10, and the host villain aura +10. After secretly releasing the silver needles, Wang Haoran received a system notification. What he applied on the silver needles was a kind of medicine that made people unable to use their strength for a certain period of time, but it was not fatal. It wasn't that Wang Haoren was soft-hearted, but he wanted to keep Yang Wuxian alive and take advantage of him. Wang Haoren estimated that Yang Wuxian still had close to 200 points of protagonist aura, so he still had a lot of value left. Yang Wuxian himself was no threat to him now. The one who posed a threat to him was that shameless battle god. On the other side, when Crow saw Yang Wuxian kneeling on the ground, he cautiously walked over to take a look and said tentatively, "Big brother, if you want to leave, please go ahead. Today I, Crow, was defeated, I admit it." Yang Wuxian struggled to stand up, but his knees only left the ground for an inch before he knelt down again. "So you can't use your strength," Crow finally confirmed. He no longer looked like a coward and raised his head with his chest out. "Crow, hurry! Hurry up and cut him up!" Shen Kong cried out in pain. "Don't worry, even if you don't say it, I won't let him go easily." Crow picked up a knife from the ground and walked towards Yang Wuxian with a vicious expression. Wang Haoren didn't have the mood to watch the following scene. However, when he left the factory, he received another system notification. He directly left the factory and took out his phone to give Ling Duanya a call. When he snuck into the factory, Wang Haoren found that the goods in the factory were all smuggled goods. In order to completely destroy Crow and his forces, Wang Haoren didn't mind being a zealous citizen. The call was quickly connected. Wang Haoren pretended to be trembling and said, "Big Sister Police Flower, I want to report, night. Black Peony Bar." Zhuqiu sat in her office and dialed a number every once in a while. However, no one picked up every time. This made her restless. The number she dialed was Wang Haoren's. Ever since she heard that Wang Haoren was going to Crow's territory, Zhuqiu was restless. It wasn't that she was worried about Wang Haoren, but she was worried about herself. Wang Haoren didn't pick up the phone. Could it be that something really happened? She was still poisoned by Wang Haoren. If Wang Haoren died, she would be buried with him. Big Sister Zhuqiu, Big Sister Zhuqiu. At this time, a rash lackey barged into Zhuqiu's office. Zhuqiu was annoyed. Hearing the lackey's ruckus, she angrily picked up the account book and threw it at him. "Do you want to die? What are you yelling for?" "Big Sister Zhuqiu, good news." "Great news." The lackey was overjoyed. "What good news?" Zhuqiu asked gloomily. "Crow's smuggling business has been destroyed. Over 100 lackeys have been arrested. Crow can't do this anymore," the lackey reported. "Are those officers so powerful, destroying Crow's smuggling business and capturing over 100 of his lackeys? How many officers are needed to do this?" Zhuqiu was in disbelief. "Someone broke into Crow's headquarters and injured over 100 of Crow's underlings. Some of them had broken legs, and some of them had broken arms. Once the mission arrived, they wouldn't be able to run even if they wanted to." The underlings said. "Who is the person who injured Crow's lackeys?" Zhuqiu hurriedly asked. "I'm not sure about that." The lackey shook his head. "Could be him." Zhuqiu was deep in thought. Wang Haoren had said that he was going to deal with Crow in the afternoon. Now, she heard that Crow's nest had been destroyed at night. This was too much of a coincidence. Buzz buzz. The phone on the desk vibrated. Zhuqiu looked at the caller ID and quickly picked up the phone. "I called for so long and couldn't get through. I thought something happened to you." "I was busy with other things and didn't have time to pick up the phone." Wang Haoren was wearing a sleeping robe and lying on the bed in the hotel's presidential suite. He lazily replied, "Crow's matter, was it done by you?" Zhuqiu asked. "Who else could it be?" Wang Haoren asked back. "It seems like I underestimated you. I didn't expect you to be so powerful that you could deal with over 100 of Crow's lackeys alone." Zhuqiu exclaimed. "Ding!" Zhuqiu has developed feelings of worship for the host. Favorability has increased by 10. Current favorability is 30, very friendly. A ding, the host has influenced the plot. Received 300 villain points. Wang Haoren listened and couldn't help but laugh. It seemed like Zhuqiu's information was not comprehensive enough. She thought that the person who injured Crow's lackeys was him. But speaking of which, this matter was controlled from behind the scenes. Taking the credit, he naturally didn't feel embarrassed. "Now that you know how powerful I am, have you fallen in love with me?" "Fall in love with you? You're thinking too much." Zhuqiu used a cold and aloof voice to reply. With 30 favorability, Wang Haoren wasn't surprised by Zhuqiuqinyu's attitude. At this time, the sound of the shower stopped. It seemed like the person inside had finished bathing. Wang Haoren didn't want to waste time arguing with Zhuqiuqinyu. You lost the bet. Remember to prepare the red wine. I might come find you at any time. Beep beep. A busy tone came from Zhuqiuqinyu's phone. It was Wang Haoren hanging up after he finished speaking. Thinking about the bet with Wang Haoren, she suddenly felt gloomy, helpless, and embarrassed.